now move on to Challenger League, Spiker versus PogChamp. I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with our casters, Kix and Intero. Gentlemen, how are you feeling? We got the Canada division behind us, and excited to see this CL play here. So, Intero, a lot on the line for these teams.
Sorry?
A lot on the line for these teams.
Oh, I was trying to figure out what you were saying. Yes, there is. So,
sorry, said it too fast.
That's okay. So Challenger League obviously is the stepping stone to professional play at the top level. It's essentially our path to pro. And the team that finishes first overall in Challenger League here in the US division is able to then, or rather in the US Challenger League division, can then challenge the big teams in the US division for a spot to play at the top.
Yeah, super exciting. And let's take a quick look at our bracket and talk about today's matchup. Again, we are seeing Spiker take on PogChamp. And what can you tell us about Spiker and PogChamp? Kix, I'm going to start with you.
Well, we know a lot about PogChamp. You've got some big names on that roster: Trippin, Sweater, Jarvis, Prod, and Ghost. I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with these guys. It's a bit of a get-together of players that have had opportunities but not really truly shined as people would hope, and then also some up-and-comers as well. It's, I think, a pretty high-tier Challenger League roster. On the side of Spiker, less is known about them. Takeoff, Toon, Mata, Prey, and Young. There's still things that we need to figure out about this squad before we can really say things about them definitively, and that's what today is for.
All right, well, we cannot wait to get this match started. So, gentlemen, I'm going to let you take it away. I believe that our teams are ready. So let's get this match rolling.
Let's start things off here with our very first map, which is going to be on Oregon. For those that tuned into the Canadian division match that just happened, well, we're going to go back to Oregon. So I hope you want to see it a second time. And honestly, there's never a bad time to get more Oregon in front of everybody's eyeballs. So Spiker's going to be starting on defense. We'll see what they are able to ban. Michael, any predictions as to operator bans here on this map?
Well, took the words right out of my mouth. We've been seeing a lot of Thatcher bans lately, and I fully expect that to be in line with this match as well. There it is. Before I could even get to it. On the second ban, it's going to be a Capitao. I wouldn't have predicted that one. I'll go out and say it. Capitao, though, is a very powerful attacking operator, so getting him off the board is going to free up a lot of different positions where you're going to be hiding behind shields, especially. That's his... Oh, wow. Interesting. I was about to say that's the forte of Capitao, but he's countered by Wamai, who is now banned. So they'll get rid of the Capitao and the Wamai. This is something we actually see a lot of, and we might see a Kaid ban here, or something similar. No, it's a Mira. Oh! Okay, so, as I was about to say, Thatcher Kaid bans. Capitao Wamai bans. What do these types of bans have in common? Well, you're getting rid of an entire function, an entire part of the game. Capitao and Wamai typically go head-to-head. So do Thatcher and Kaid. But the fact that Kaid has been allowed to slip through and Mira is banned instead means that, well, the defense is going to have a pretty significant advantage in this match. And I think that denying those walls is going to happen quite a lot. I'm curious to see if it's going to be Kali or Maverick that'll be brought primarily to counter those Kaids or bandits or what have you.
Obviously, PogChamp is a team that doesn't really need much of an introduction. For those that are looking at the five gentlemen at the top, they are known quantities within the scene. Unfortunately for us, we can't exactly extol the same things or the same virtues of the Spiker roster because they are more of a question mark. Now, PogChamp, if I remember correctly, finished first in Challenger League last season, so they're back to defend that honor. Now, the big thing with Challenger League is that if you finish first overall in Challenger League, then you end up competing against the worst team, or the team that finishes last, in the respective divisions for a chance at taking that spot. So in this case, in the US division, whichever team finishes 8th, it's going to have to go up against and defend their spot in the US division against the team that finishes first here in USCL. So obviously, since this is USCL, the majority of the people playing will be American. The lone Canadian on the roster of PogChamp is none other than Sam Jarvis, aka my best friend, as I always have to say. He's playing with Prod, Trippin, Sweater, and Ghost. Ghost, Trippin, both having former Pro League experience back when Pro League was a thing. Sweater never quite getting there, and the same with Prod. Also, there was a recent roster change to PogChamp before the qualifiers where Drip, aka Yardy, got another spot on another team. I was going to say he got removed, but then I realized, no, he didn't actually. He was going to play with this PogChamp roster after stepping off of Disrupt and is now finding a home on another U.S. Challenger League team.
We also have Sonar on Spiker, and I thought it was going to be Prey. That's what I was reading off in the lead into the match, but not so. A little bit different there. Spiker, with all these names they have, now this is their chance to prove their worth. We will have them going up against, I think, as you were talking about, Parker, a roster that I think a lot of people are pretty familiar with. I think a lot would call PogChamp a bit of a stacked team. We'll see if that holds true, though. It's not always proven correct. When you expect the more veteran players to have the advantage, that doesn't always hold firm. Young is going to get the first kill onto Jarvis, so that's a C4 into Attic, well placed. And the aggression, it looks like PogChamp maybe wasn't expecting it. Your Nomad gone now. If the air jabs weren't placed, they won't be anymore, and that's going to change up how flanking might operate. But I imagine there's probably some by tower, so there's unlikely to be a flank in that direction. Takeoff down in the main lobby. He can see C4 from below. But speaking of below, it's the Ash underneath Armory, applying pressure to the Legion of Toon, who's playing in that position. He's got a reinforced drop down, so he doesn't have to worry too much. And Sweater's looking to find his opponent. There's that C4 from below that we talked about earlier. It was pre-placed in the closet, and it's turned out to be a pretty big success. But Sweater is allowed to repel in on Toon, using a stun to distract him and get that kill. A second for Sweater as he challenges, I believe, towards Attic. Wherever it was a beautiful shot, I'm sure. And that's going to bring the man count nice and even as we hit the last minute.
Yeah, I like what we're seeing here from the defense as they just hold on their position. They know they don't have to worry too much about white stairs, so that's going to completely change their focus on this attack. And a toxic canister will go out and somehow deal damage to Prod, a frustrating spot I'm sure that the Maverick finds themselves in, but Sweater bursts into action, misses the shot on the Valkyrie. Mata's the one to be able to take down Prod in this particular case, and SMG-11 out of Mata as he looks to do some more damage over towards the master bedroom side of things. There's Sweater doing what an Ash main does best, which is flicking onto multiple targets and shooting a couple bullets. Once again, wearing the Bolo charm. I think it's a conspiracy at this point, Michael, if I'm being honest with you. Toxic Canister sails past Sweater as both Spiker and PogChamp are going to get real aggressive. Sweater trying to hold off as best as he can, but now a 1v1 on a quad kill here. Sweater with the pistol out! What a huge round, and the ace in the very first round of the U.S. Challenger League for none other than Sweater. He's a CCS champ, by the way, and round number one's going to go to PogChamp.
We called him the young up-and-comer, and I think that was appropriate, proven in the first round, and he knows it. Look at that. An ace to start things off, and Sweater, I think we can all say safely at this point, has a really auspicious career ahead of him. I think I'm excited to see what he can do moving forward in this match. Now, he's playing on Ash, and that is a superpower, but that is beside the point. The mechanical skill displayed there by Sweater in that round single-handedly brought it home for his team. Well done to him. Now, we'll be going to Laundry Room for the next site. There's not a lot to talk about in that last site, because it was honestly a pretty good setup from Spiker. I gotta say, they looked solid. The one mistake they made is they did not hold on to Attic long enough through that hold, and they allowed Sweater to come up from behind. But overall, strategically, not a bad set from Spiker. I am impressed by the way they held that out, and if it weren't for Sweater, that would have been a very different story. Now,
there's a big reason why they picked up Sweater, and obviously he's showing his worth. This PogChamp roster has always kind of revolved around having a veteran on it, or somebody, the old guard, whatever you want to call it. Chala was on this roster way back in the day. Now he plays for TSM. Jarvis obviously is one of the most battle-hardened players in the entirety of the scene. Trippin has also been around the block and back. I mean, hell, I was casting Trippin back in CCS in 2017 before you'd ever even heard my name. So he's been around the block an awful lot. And he was in Pro League for a very brief period of time on World Best Gaming back in, what was that, season 6, if I remember correctly. So it's been ages, yes. On the same team as Yeti, actually, who's still kicking, but Yeti's on E United and off to greener pastures, I would say, than that WBG roster ever achieved. So, yeah. With that said, I like the mix on PogChamp, but despite that, what a round from Spiker. They are obviously a lot of just young gunners, and you can really see it in the way that they play, and even in this operator lineup here in front of them. These are players who are going to be able to land their shots. And going up against the gunners that you see on the hands of PogChamp, Spiker was able to keep pace with that attack from PogChamp.
Yeah, and it might be because, I mean, again, it's because of Sweater that PogChamp was allowed to take that one. And he might be the most gunner of the young gunners in this match. We're not entirely sure yet. He's making a good, I'd say, argument for himself. But we're not to that definitive point as we're only 1 round in. Now, that's going to be the freezer dropdown getting opened up. That's big. Trippin still has one of his exothermic charges. He can place that on the A wall, which is a common strategy we've seen executed on this bottom floor. Still a new site this Oregon, or new map this Oregon, rather. So it's going to take some evolution before we really know what the common strategies are. But this A wall attack is actually fairly normal. You can see that is the focus here for PogChamp. They've got control of Freezer. Ooh, narrowly living there. Sweater almost dies to the angle play from Sonar. That's a really nice angle, actually. I really like that. He's got the laundry machine to support him in this position, and he can even change angles by vaulting up. He's going to do just that. That's been heard, though, by Ghost, and it'll be called out. Pretty clear communication here for PogChamp. They've got great angles. Nade comes in, and down goes your Jaeger. A little ironic. Mata will get prod. A nice headshot using that all on a long angle. There's a back and forth ensuing here, but it's stalled out somewhat. And it's just a little bit of hesitancy on the attack. Sweater will be dispatched, so no 4K for him in this round. He can't get all the kills. Trippin, though, going for a plan. It doesn't seem like there's anyone who's going to stop him. Takeoff going for the push-up, and you can see Young peeking wide and getting the kill. Jarvis now in a 1v3, but make that a 1v2 quickly as he picks up his first kill. Mata, though, landing his shots impressively so, and Jarvis goes down. The second round will go to Spiker. No heroics this time.
Honestly, so much of that was just a total frag fest. It was just 50-50 after 50-50. We saw it at the bottom of the main stairs. Once that air jab went down, as Trippin went for the plant, he was very exposed, and he lives if the coverage at the bottom of the stairs watches over towards Laundry. That's not the case, obviously, as it didn't work out that well, and Spiker won their gunfights. They won their gunfight on Sweater by peeking quickly all the way into Freezer. They won their gunfight by swinging on to Jarvis. Same thing. Inside of that freezer, they won their gunfight by swinging on to, I believe it was Ghost watching Trippin at the bottom of the main stairs. Maybe it was Prod. I don't know. Honestly, the 2, 3, 4 stuff at the end of their names is confusing the hell out of me. But
me too.
For those that don't know, it means do not lose. Because I remember Trippin used to run with Trippin 1, 2, 3, 4 because it stands for the number of letters in each of the words. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do not lose. So 1 or 2 letter, 3 letter, 4 letters. For those that are curious.
I get it.
I feel like I've just cracked the Da Vinci Code to a lot of people here. So if it was a well-held secret, I apologize for all those that have been running it. But anyway.
I mean, it's neat to know now, and I think the reason they took the I out of it is because I suppose they're probably trying to be like, oh, the team, we do not lose. There's no I in we. There's no I in team. So, yay, 2, 3, 4. No? It's not that.
Yay.
It's not that deep.
Yay.
Yay. I don't know. Anyway, good round there from Spiker. I'm impressed by their fortitude. Their ability to take those gunfights, and as you said, Parker, it was a lot of just, straight gunfights, straight 1v1s. Defining the way that the round played out, the pace of the round. I think that the thing I would critique most there in that round for either team is probably PogChamp's hesitancy. They had the control of the angles. They could have done a lot more work than they did. They ultimately accomplished very little with the control they had, the crossfire they had, and I would have expected to see a little bit more out of that from them. But moving on to round number 3. And here we go. It's a master take right now for PogChamp. Toon's still playing inside of Armory. Now, we don't actually see that very much. This is quite interesting. An Armory hold from the defense. It's an uncommon thing, I'd say, from at least my experience in Oregon so far. Maybe it's different elsewhere. But whatever the case be, it's something that Spiker's doing. And it's definitely, again, a little bit different. We're going to see him fall back already. I was going to say, I'm curious to see if it's going to work for him, but he's actually gone out of there, not taking the risk anymore, as he's realized the push is coming from elsewhere. Ghost will get Toon after he fell out of Arsenal, so I guess that was a bad idea, but it's done now. Hindsight 2020. Ghost did eat a lot of damage of that engagement, so at least he'll die easily to the next fight. Sonar trying to go for a flank. Jarvis on the staircase. He's likely got an air jab somewhere, so Sonar's not going to be able to just spring into action, or at least I imagine not. There's that air jab. Can be shot. Sonar's going to have to time this perfectly. There's the shot. Is he expecting no one to have heard that? I'm not sure what's going on, but both of the attackers inside a tower are now aimed at the staircase, ready for the Aegir. It's just a distraction, it seems, as Sonar will fall back to meeting.
And he'll watch the hatch inside of attic, so if somebody comes that way, expecting him maybe to be on the back stairs, he'll be able to take them all down. We'll see, and we'll just wait for it. Great patience from the rest of the defense here on Spiker. They don't need to get too aggressive. And honestly, for a team that's as young and as inexperienced as they may be as an actual squad playing at this level, and in this level of spotlight at least, this is exactly what they need. A missed opportunity to take down the Zofia as Sonar is removed and then followed up on by Sweater, who guns him down inside a meeting hall, and then Sweater will now find his next target somewhere closer to the bomb site with about a third of the round or thereabouts to go, just a little bit less. Tripping up top, he's still got the diffuser, as we would expect a Thermite, and he can see the backpack of the Maestro, but knows that you can't do anything with it. There's a frag grenade in hand, but if you swing out, well, the smoke will be able to just simply be better than you. Not in this case, though. Prod on the windows. He does great damage. Down goes Takeoff as well, and it's young Alec. Just Alec left. He'll botch the C4 entirely. Obviously, a little bit of nerves getting to him, and he gets gunned down by Sweater. It's the second time Sweater has, as I put it, gunned down somebody. And once again, same site. It's going to go to PogChamp yet again. They're up 2-1.
Interesting that there was no actual rotation on that wall. Usually you'll have a full rotation or a crouch rotation so you can get out of there, but it was just that prone, and that really limited the options for young Alec. Put him in a really bad spot. So big ups to Sweater for fulfilling that Ash role very well over these 2 attack rounds on the top floor. This is where things get a little bit complicated, right? Spiker managed to win the bottom floor. Good for them. Solid defense there. But now, where else do they go and successfully hold out? That's the question. Top floor has not been working for them. They clearly are not comfortable there. And whenever you have a match where you have a team that just cannot hold a site, it limits their options, and it definitely suggests that they're going to lose that half. Odds are PogChamp will be able to win this one, or at least this half, and then push it to the second half in the advantage. That's a scary prospect for Spiker, and it all stems from them not being able to successfully defend the top floor. They'll go to meeting kitchen for their next site, and we'll see what they can manage here. There's still a chance for them to really, I guess, take some more rounds on this first half. Let's say that they're really good at defending kitchen and meeting. Well, then it might be the same thing for kitchen and dining, or cafeteria, or what have you, or whatever that site is called, because that is a very similar site to this one, and be defended in a similar way. And if you can hold this one, you can hold the other one. Maybe there's a chance that these are going to be comfortable enough for you to get a solid array of rounds on the first half. Whatever the case be, I've been impressed by Spiker's performance so far through this map. It's not been all perfect, of course. There's still some time, though, for things to get smoothed out. On the side of PogChamp, it's a whole lot of Sweater right now.
Well, I mean, 5 of those kills came in one.
True.
Came in one outing, right? Yeah.
True, but I mean, they would have lost that round if not for him too.
The one thing I can't help but notice that they're forcing Ella into this composition to try and hold down angles, but on the basement defense that we saw at Attune playing this, well, he was playing at longer angles than you'd usually expect an Ella to do so, and you gotta hope that his aim is maybe a little bit better on PogChamp than it was on that drone, but...
Agreed.
We'll wait and see.
It is worrisome. That's a really close-range weapon. I mean, it's a medium-range weapon. The shotgun's a close-range weapon.
This is a quick one, though, from PogChamp, as they are not too far away from being able to go on into meeting. The one that was at the end of the hallway leading into kitchen was none other than Sonar, and he's still there, just holding an angle, waiting so patiently. Is he going to fall off or not? That's the real question. No, he'll go on to drone. Or rather, in his case, he'll go on to cam as they try to burn his ADSs that are placed inside of meeting. And you can see that there's more than one of them as all 3 of those flashbangs get taken out. They know that there's a Gishmat mine waiting for Toon to be able to pay off of, as that just small sliver has been opened up by the Maverick, but PogChamp are struggling right now to do anything with it.
There's Sweater taking down Toon, so the Ella pick not working out great for Spiker, or Toon specifically. And that's going to leave Mata as the lone anchor inside a meeting. This has got to be intimidating for him to handle. Trying to deny the peek through those Maverick holes, but those holes are going to be made much larger by the Thermite Exothermic. It's possible that A, site control will be lost here for Spiker in short order as they spot out Mata in the sandbag corner. Now, that is going to prompt the push. Sweater gets Sonar in the hallway, so holding that angle did not work for Sonar. Mata has somehow persisted, though. Impressive stuff, considering he's been spotted for a while, but as I say that, he'll be eliminated by Prod. Young Alex taking down Jarvis, though, so a little bit of bite back here from Spiker, but he'll be downed in short order. Takeoff, the last defender, and he's got a UMP and a Dream. I don't think he's going to realize it in this round. With only 40 seconds in the post plant, he falls flat inside a kitchen. Sweater locking out that round. A great execution from PogChamp.
Sweater was only a couple tryouts away from having a spot in the US division. There was a period of time where he was on the radar of the Sonics, but they opted to go with other roster moves instead. That just goes to show you, though, the skill that Sweater has, given the fact that he's still quite young and will, if you're on his side, somebody that you hope finds a spot on a US division team. But he's really proving his worth here right now. It was 3 kills on that round. From my count, that'll push him into double digits as we start round number 5. That's very impressive. Yes, 5 of them came on an ace, but being able to ace another Challenger League team is quite impressive at this current point in time.
Yes, it is an impressive performance. And again, it might seem like not a lot, but in Siege, kills really matter quite a bit, and not like in the grand scheme, but like getting the number of kills is more relevant than I'm trying to compare it to other competitive FPS games where you might get more kills in a match. So getting 5 kills is in one round, you're taking an ace, winning a round just single-handedly almost for your team. That's a big thing, and I don't think it's necessarily going to happen at every level of competition, but it's still an impressive feat. Now, that last round was really bad for Spiker for a number of reasons. But the main thing is what I was talking about earlier, leading into that meeting defense. The conversation was, okay, Spiker can't hold top floor. If they can't hold meeting, then things are looking exceptionally difficult for them overall in the defensive half. Their one safe haven has been this bottom floor. And they've only managed to go to it once. They won it once. They'll only get twice if they win it the second time around. So if you can't defend meeting, you can't defend top floor, it's likely you also can't defend the cafeteria, then that means that you're probably going to end up with, as I mentioned earlier, a 4-2. And that is scary. That is not a good place to be if you're Spiker. And it's going to hurt their confidence when they transition onto the second half.
Yeah, and I mean, not to try and call too much attention to somebody like Sonar, but if you're playing on Jaeger and you're off-site the way that he is, you're going to need to start finding the scoreboard. A lot of the kills that have come have been from the anchors in desperation at the very end of the round. I understand that it's hard to roam against. I understand that it's hard to roam against a team that's quite good like PogChamp, but at the same time, you need to be adding to that scoreboard. It's hard to navigate talking about this, by the way, without making it sound like you're being rude to somebody who's like relatively new to Challenger League.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, but you're right.
I mean, I hope the people listening understand the point that we're trying to make is that, there are expectations here. You made it to for a lot of these players that are in Challenger League this season, this is the highest level of play that they've ever gotten to. And yeah. I know that pressure is high, especially those that are going to go up against PogChamp because, PogChamp, they were before. I don't know now with the Last Dance in play if they're still the most experienced, but they're one of the most experienced teams in the entire league.
I'm looking, yeah, I mean, it could be, you could argue for the Last Dance. I mean, overall, there's a lot of talent across it. I mean, I would say that they're up there. They're top 2 for sure in terms of experience. We can say that. And they are one of the favored Challenger League teams for this season. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Spiker. And honestly, I'm impressed at the performance so far. And you said it yourself, there was a lot of desperation moments, but also the defense of the bottom floor has been working out pretty well. We'll see if that continues, though. As Sweater gets the lead-off kill onto Takeoff. Beautiful shot there, I assume. We didn't actually get to see it. Now, the shield does pose a big threat to the attack. PogChamp needs to deal with it before they go for the execution. It will deny the plant because someone's going to be able to peek over there and shoot you as you attempt to plant. So I must assume Sweater is going to make that a priority, but I don't know if he has any Ash charges left because we don't have the extended thing up right now. It looks like he doesn't, so that's going to be complicated. Ghost also doesn't, so there's no choice to get rid of that shield. Here come the kills from Spiker. They wake up, and the aggression is coming out right after. That's actually going to cost them as Trippin and Jarvis get their own kills. Now it's a 2v2. We were a lot more men alive a few seconds ago. Toon, though, still on the shield because it wasn't destroyed, and that puts all the pressure on Jarvis. He won't get it done. Young Alec will. Spiker take their second defense on the same site they got there first, the bottom floor, and that's the last you'll see of it for this first half.
You saw the engagement that Trippin tried to take over by that laundry wall as he was the Thermite in the 1v1 around the deployable shield. Thermite started to go for the plant. He was worried that somebody was going to push him. Sam Jarvis was trying to watch and cover him, but then Trippin decided to go up and take the fight to himself. Okay, fair enough. Trippin wins that gunfight. He's now not going to get pressured from that closet wall. He can go back to the plant, and now it's a 2v1 with Jarvis watching the angle that he knew Alec was playing off of. That's the difference maker on that round. One single engagement. I mean, obviously you want to look at the fact that it took PogChamp to the final 10-15 seconds for them to be able to find any success, being able to get through Freezer, open it up with the hard destruction, continue to push in, clear out the back of supply, etc. But we continuously try to harp on how gunfights matter, and both of these teams right now are ignoring utility play a lot of times and are just simply quick peeking doorways. I mean, that's what we've seen from Sweater. That's what we've seen from Alec. That's what Sonar did. We've seen it from Toon when he's been playing on Ella. And they're landing their shots because, honestly, when you're still trying to learn maps and you're still trying to come up with strats, you can fall back on what you know at best. And in this case, they're good aimers and they're good gunners, and they're going to use that to their advantage. It's been a really strong showing of how some of the young talent in the US division, or the US Challenger League rather, will eventually then filter up to the US division.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for that. And I think, well, obviously that's why we're here today, right? The whole point is that we get this filter up effect, and I think that these are the proving grounds. These are the, the initial stopping grounds, where you get those opportunities where you prove yourself. A lot of people wonder actually how exactly are you supposed to get into competitive? Well, you go through Challenger League. You get there through the open qualifiers. You make your way up there, and sometimes if you're good enough, a team will reach down and pick you up before you even finish a season of Challenger League. It's happened before. But for right now, in this moment, it's definitely proven to be an interesting match in some respects, focusing in on this. The only thing is, I'm worried about Spiker's potential here for the overall match because of their inability to win anywhere other than the bottom floor. That's scary stuff. It's likely this is going to end 4-2 unless we see some heroics from Spiker. Mata and Young Alec have been the real heroes so far for their team. Sonar, Toon, and Takeoff have yet to really, have their moment. I had to stop myself. And I'm sure they'll get it, but it's just not showing up yet. And that does, and we've talked about this before, sometimes that just means that once they do start to show up, that's going to make all the difference.
I mean, we saw it in the previous game with Mirage versus Nordic. Zilchi and Silent struggled to find the scoreboard, but the rounds that they did, it was huge. And then at the very end of that third and final map, you saw how important it was that Silent was able to get on that board. But I'm going to turn and focus on this because we just saw our first bit of action, and that's Alec taking down Ghost, as there were some struggles from the Zofia to be able to get through that front door. So to avenge him, it's none other than Sweater, whose drone is parked inside of the body of the Zofia. They'll instead open up the door. I don't know if Ghost was having some issues, but he tries to at least get some form of rise out of young Alec, and he hears the MP7 go off, and there you go. Sweater doesn't even take a single point of damage in that engagement. Very well done. We can see from the silhouettes another member of Spiker is going to head on down to try and push him. The Kaid on point, but no, Sweater is just better, and Sonar up top now at the top of White Stairs. He's got the carbine in hand, waiting ever so patiently for somebody to emerge from over on the master side. He's also got intel coming in from the Evil Eye cam that's on the wall, and it will continue to give its position away, but Trippin is just better in that regard. He turns his back, misses a shot, but thank goodness Sweater is there for his third kill and a fourth. My goodness. He's just absolutely unstoppable right now. 4 kills for Sweater. And what a round for PogChamp.
I think sweater is just better is the saying born from this match. You said it best, Parker, and that one's going to carry forward, I imagine, quite far, as he has had an absolutely stellar performance through this map. 15 kills, and we just finished round 6. That is some impressive stuff. We'll go to the second half, and the scoreline is as forecasted, 4-2. Bottom floor defense up next for PogChamp. We'll see how they can do here. I say up next, it's their first defense. It feels weird because they're so far ahead right now, and it feels it's almost like it's more than the scoreline. It's tangible. You can feel how ahead they are at this moment because everywhere that Spiker has gone that wasn't the bottom floor has looked absolutely dire. And the question is that going to be reflected in their attack as well? And sometimes we see that be the case. Sometimes we see a team play just as well on attack as they did on defense. In fact, I think that's a common trend these days. And if I'm Spiker, I'd be worried about that.
So, a side swap here now, Michael, and back downstairs to laundry supply room. I mean, the one thing for Spiker, just touching on what you just said, is that as much as we don't have the best visibility on their history and their lineage, etc., because it is a significant challenge to find information on a lot of T2, T4 players, and for people who don't know what that means, it's basically amateur level. T2 is tier 2, that's Challenger League, and below tier 3 would be like regional leagues. Tier 3 could also be like CCS and stuff along those lines. So the problem with finding the stories of these players is that you don't really know how long they've been together, what their pedigree is, and you don't know how hard they've been grinding and which teams they've been scrimming. It's very possible that some of these Challenger League teams have not been successful in stacking up well against the professional teams in the US division or even the Canadian division. So you try to get information from scrim reports and stuff like that. All you can really do is watch as the match unfolds, just as we did in Mirage versus Nordic, and make assessments based on what you're seeing. And in this case, I mean, it definitely seems like PogChamp has been in full control in this match.
It certainly does feel that way. As I mentioned earlier, it's almost like it's tangible. You can feel the dominance right now. And, it's not over yet. I think this first round is going to be very telling of the outcome of this match overall. And, well, I guess, we'll find out. The tower control is in hand, construction control as well. They're vying for pillar control. That's not easy to accomplish, but this is big. The Maverick will be able to open up a hole in 2B. That's going to apply a lot of pressure to the anchors. You can see them scattering, see them reposition, and Ghost is going to be punished. Young Alec gets that first kill. And the attack is looking really great here for Spiker. It's not done yet, but things are lining up just the right way. Speaking of lining up, Trippin getting on a very tight angle. He'll land the shot. Sonar goes down. Nice one indeed there with the Alda. It's not done yet, though, as I mentioned earlier. They're trying to get the wall open. If they can get this this B wall open, things look really good. There's a second one for young Alec. Long angle play into Freezer. Nets that kill. C4 goes after the gas canister, but that's poor coordination. Gas canister's going to flush them out. C4, it won't land if there's no one there.
So you just have to watch the Maverick holes that are positioned on your right and wait. Right now, there is still limited hard destruction that is happening, and you don't exactly have a clear way into either of the bomb sites. That soft breach that's been done will be the only real way in through bunker, and there's a frag grenade waiting with the Qaed's name on it, but it looks like it actually sails well over inside of the cubby that's positioned by the laundry closet. There goes another smoke, and Takeoff takes a lot of damage from that. That is a bit perplexing, which is what I'm assuming you were going to jump in on and talk about. Dual SMG-11s out for both Sweater and Sam Jarvis, and they'll put in good work as the Ash springs in. It's Mata versus Prod and Jarvis, but no, Prod has the AUG in hand, and PogChamp will take their 5th round.
Great job there to PogChamp, winning their first defense. Nice pre-fire from Prod. He heard the Ash's zone pre-fire and counter pre-fired. Hey, who needs Peeker's advantage when you know where the enemy is? There'll be a top 4 defense next for the PogChamp. The PogChamp. Wow, okay. Their bottom floor hold was just as stalwart as Spiker's bottom floor hold, and that's worth keeping in mind. It does mean that the likelihood of PogChamp taking this is pretty darn high. Reason being is, let's say we have a reflection of like a half reflection of the round count in the first half, and PogChamp are really good at defending the bottom floor. Maybe they struggle a little bit more on the other floors, or the other sites rather. Then you'll probably still see this end in the first half. I think that PogChamp's gonna be able to take this top floor defense or some other defense somewhere, and they're not gonna have the same exact struggles as Spiker. The chances of OT at this point are seeming really slight. Now, that said, Spiker did have a pretty good attack. I'm impressed by their ability to get those initial kills. The clear in through pillar was especially good. One thing I will say is that their Maverickle was underutilized and underwhelming. The way that they opened it up, it didn't really afford them much control at all. The grenades didn't really accomplish anything on the side of Spiker. All of the indirect, the things you expect to, reposition the enemy and pick off defenders on certain angles, they just didn't work for Spiker. They got a few kills on heads-up gunfights, but that's about it. And that's ultimately why they were twisting in the wind and failed in the end of that last round.
As good a summation as I think anybody can expect, given what we've seen. And I am eager to see how this kid's defense upstairs plays out. You know what the real crime here is, by the way? You and I have been asking Ubisoft to change kids' dorms because of how awkward it sounds when you cast it, using the fact that the word kids is involved. And they remodeled this map, and they didn't change the name of the room.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I think I just call it dorms, but...
Yeah, but there's so many dorms.
Yeah. I mean, you could
have just changed it. We'd asked for it. Change it.
You
had a chance. I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed.
It's okay, Parker. Pat.
Drone's ready.
Just tweak it. You don't even just tweak it. Anyway.
Didn't they change it to dorms? I don't remember.
I thought it was still kids dorms. We'll wait and see.
We
There's
can
got to be a
find out.
defender playing it. No,
Trippin's
it's
in
still
there.
kids dorms. Yeah.
It's still kids dorms?
That's what I was saying. I was pretty sure it was still kids dorms.
Then I'm just as disappointed as you, Parker.
There's a nitro cell underneath the armory stairs, courtesy of none other than Sweater, looking for his 17th kill. Yes, that is correct. You're hearing that correctly.
Yep, he's got a lot of kills. He won't find one, but
Ghost will, as Alec goes bye-bye. So
about time. Ghost has gotten his second kill just now. That's big.
Not newly, but the married man Ghost himself.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
Well, good to see him show up to the party, and he gets Mata, of all people, who is one of the performers on the side of Spiker. Young also on low HP. That's going to put all the pressure on Sonar, Tune, and Takeoff, who between them all have 4 kills. That was really unfortunate timing for Young. He could have caught someone on the rotation, but he had to go open this wall. Unlucky is the word.
That's really poor timing from the Zofia, because that could have been a free kill netted quite easily. But anyway, they find Jarvis, regardless of who it is. Still Evil Eye Cam spotting out on Tune. He can't really do much because he's afraid of the rotate that's inside of the kids' dorm's wall. Even though there are pings coming in, he's still a little too apprehensive. Maybe for his own liking. The Zofia comes on in, and Alec with 2 huge kills. He's been playing so well that Nitro Cell could have ended his reign of terror, but no. Nothing in this case. Still got the Evil Eye Cam up in attic. As Takeoff goes for the plant, covering is the Zofia. The Jaeger looking to try and strike. There he is. Lots of damage done. Ghost stops him in his track, but the diffuser goes down, so bad timing on the side of PogChamp. The Maestro takes the fight to Tune, but Tune works out better, so Ghost will need to do more work. Still pings as he pre-fires on into the sledge. I don't know what the sledge was expecting. That'll set us up for a 1v1. He gets shot from the doorway of Master. Out on the balconies of Zofia. Young Alec, a huge round. He manages to survive that C4 on Armory Stairs, and then exacts as much revenge as he can on the remainder of PogChamp to prevent PogChamp from going onto match point.
Yeah, what a big W there from young Alec. I gotta be impressed not only by his ability to get those kills, but with all of the damage he had incurred earlier in the round from that C4 from Sweater. He's really going toe-to-toe with Sweater, and, well, that means that so far, nobody has won a defense anywhere but the bottom floor, which is interesting. I don't know if that's going to hold. I don't know if that trend is going to continue necessarily. I think there's a lot of little parts in that last round where Spiker got a little lucky, where Young was allowed to push, where You wouldn't expect him to be able to, but overall, still impressed. Well done to young Alec. Now, top floor defense once more for PogChamp. We'll see if they can handle it this time around. The thing that impressed me the most about the last round was actually partially the entry from young Alec, but also the way he played it in the post plant. He was definitely always cognizant of his positioning, and I love to see that because many people in the post plant there probably would have just lingered in master, maybe by the closet. He went all the way out to the balcony, affording no opportunity to Ghost, who was on a heater in that round. So props to young Alec again for his decision making.
I got some notice, by the way, and some visibility on the Spiker team from none other than PreyK47 on Twitter.
yeah.
So thank you. He said that he's currently on the bench for Spiker, but they are a 3-month-old team and have indeed scrimmed PL teams, and they are continuing to build. So a 3-month team, that means that obviously they are not as experienced, not as developed as PogChamp, certainly not as developed as the #1 team coming out of Challenger League last season, but I am appreciative of the insight, so thank you very much, PreyK47. And also, I'm going to be honest with you, that's a pretty clever name, if I'm saying that myself.
So,
because it's like AK-47,
Yeah,
get it?
yeah,
but like
yeah.
Prey, get it? Like
I do get it. Yes.
get it?
I do get it.
All right. Like an AK-47.
Yeah, Parker. It's going to be tower wall opened up inside of Attic, and they'll be applying some pressure to the cross there. Sweater trying to gather as much information as possible from meeting. He will be getting a lot of heartbeats on this sensor. The wall has been opened up, though, and that's big, because that wall honestly doesn't usually get opened up. I'm kind of surprised. And I think Kaid is unbanned, and Thatcher is banned, so that would have been really easy to stop. Just a little bit of a change in operator selection, and then Spiker is stopped dead in their tracks, have to reassess their attack.
I'm watching to see what differences PogChamp has made here on this bomb site, but it's hard to know exactly what, given the perspectives that we have. Obviously, Sweater on the pulse and everything that comes with it is going to be a little bit different, and that information could be huge. It also doesn't look like the same Evil Eye is inside of Attic. I can't tell, which is where Sam Jarvis is prone, just waiting, shotgun blast position, so that it'll blow somebody wide open. He might be on drone as well. We saw the drone situated at the top of Attic, so I don't know if Jarvis is aware of that spot. Regardless, first kill is going to come out, and it's on to Sweater, so not where you want to be. You just lost your best player on PogChamp with still plenty of action to go. Stunlock just by the doorway leading in from Trophy as the Zofia is waiting. Alec has been by far and away Spiker's best player, and he's not going to get that kill. Technically credited for it will be none other than Takeoff. There's a frag tossed in, and it destroys Trippin'. Sam Jarvis is there. He was inside of the Attic, immediately refragged by Toon, and now it's Prod's job to go into a 1v1. Some trouble trying to get open the master wall, but there goes Prod to Toon, whose reign of terror is just unfolding. Ghost up with 2 kills. He's ever so elusive, but he can't get anything more than 2. A huge opportunity, but it slips through his fingers, and a second round in a row now for Spiker.
Parker, you think this might be the moment where PogChamp needs to reconsider the site selection? They're probably going to go to basement for this round, but maybe next time they might want to try somewhere that's not the top floor?
I mean, I don't play at this level, by the way.
All right,
but that's what I would imagine.
Yeah, I would. That's what I would imagine as well. I mean, we're looking at a situation right now where, as of this moment, the only successful defense has been on the bottom floor. We're going to go to, it looks like a meeting hall kitchen for the next round. All right, so bottom floor save for later, I suppose. How about Lee? They could have gone to the bottom floor. They just chosen not to. Interesting. I mean, you can go there whenever, I suppose. So you may as well try something different. Whereas you're going to have to get this this site or some other site that's not the bottom floor in order to avoid overtime anyway. So what the heck, right? Sweater has been kind of well, he hasn't gotten a lot of kills in a while. It's been not a whole lot of contribution from him. on the defensive half, but then again, neither is the rest of his team. Those top floor clears have been pretty one-sided for Spiker so far, and as such, again, I don't expect the top floor to be played again by either teams, really. If we get to overtime and Spiker has to defend somewhere, I really don't think it's going to be upstairs. Even if they have to defend two different places, we'll probably see something totally different, as it's just not been a friendly sight for anyone on the defensive half.
No, and that's kind of puzzling, right? They're 0 and 4 for the defense on that kid's bomb site upstairs.
I mean, sometimes it's just how the sites line up based on the teams and how they play with each other. Sweater does equal damage with takeoff, but Sweater can heal, so...
Goodness gracious.
Yep. That's a good way to put it.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a gambit that he's going to take to try and catch Spiker off guard. And if he's just an inch higher, well, there goes the Maverick. And that would have been massive for the attackers, because the Maverick is the only hard breacher on the board for Spiker. Even though there's only been one map where we've seen the hard breacher bans really come in, a lot of teams are not running either Hibana or Thermite. They're just running a Maverick by themselves. And that's okay. It's something that we'd heard from scrim reports that, hey, Maverick is obviously going to be used almost every single round because he's not a Thatcher alternative, but he does negate the advantage that these denial operators like Mute, like Bandit, etc. have. At the same time, he also has frag grenades, which replaces the buck frag grenades that were taken off.
Yeah, it's definitely an important operator to bring, just for getting the wall open, but also, as you said, that indirect damage that can be done with those grenades. We've seen, you talked about it earlier, you've seen a lot more Sledge being brought than Buck. He's filled that gap. We've seen more Maverick being brought up, and it has to do with those grenades, certainly. There's just so much potential there. I mean, look at that. Lifeline's going to clear out the ADS or determine that there's no ADS. Nades can follow right after. Sonar will take down one on a long angle play. Using that DMR. That's prod gone. No smokes. Not going to be able to stop the push in through this tower breach. A lot of pressure on Trippin's shoulders right now. He is the one up close and personal with this attack, and he's the one who's going to get the most direct confrontation by both the tower door and the breach. Missed shot and missed opportunity there from Sonar, and Trippin's all the better for it. Running low on time here as we hit the last 45 seconds. The attack really needs to speed things up. C4 goes out, detonates, and does damage, but doesn't get the kill. Sweater at a long angle will get young Alec. Yeah, I don't know how that C4 didn't kill him either. Nice pivot there from Trippin. He'll get a nice headshot onto the person coming out of split. Ghost gets Mata. Trippin on a takeoff to finish him off. It's all on Sonar with 25 seconds. He'll have to find 3. At least he's got the diffuser, but he doesn't really have anything else going for him. Low HP, he'll die to a single bullet. His position is clearly known as the pre-fires come out. Just a jiggle peek, and he's like, nah, I'm out of there. The drop in through tower will be, I guess, a good reposition. Phone call is great too, but he really doesn't have time for this. And I guess he's not even going to try. A nice round there for PogChamp. The 5-4, evolving to a 6-4, and match point.
I mean, at that point, what are you going to do if you're the Dokkaebi? You can't really go in, you don't really have a chance to be able to do any damage, and you've got one hard reinforced wall, got a soft wall that you can entry through, but you don't have the loadout for taking multiple enemies other than an SMG-12 directly up close. At that point, I think it's a lost cause. But, I mean, they did flip the script in PogChamp's favor, to be fair, is that we were expecting them to go downstairs to Laundry's supply room, and, well, they defended quite aggressively up top. So it's going to be kitchen dining hall now. So PogChamp are showing versatility here with where they go on this map and how they defend.
They certainly are, and that was a solid hold there. There were a couple moments where I thought that Spiker might have been able to take that one, but I think the real problem was the way that they pushed up through that tower hallway, and they really didn't accomplish anything from there. You've got a hold from Trippin deep inside a meeting. He was probably the key player there for PogChamp, but their inability to hold out that push from that defense from the drop down inside a meeting was really the problem. Spiker had a good try. I like their ability to open up the wall. The Maverick play has been pretty stellar. The soft destruction following it up was good. I like the loadout even from Spiker as a whole. We'll see how they do as they go on to Kitchen. Now, this is the really interesting thing. Kitchen defense instead of bottom defense. Defense on the bottom floor is flawless for both teams. And, well, I mean, interestingly, it's not going to be played for the last, well, potentially the last round. This could certainly go to overtime, but something about the way this is playing out right now suggests to me that PogChamp is going to be able to lock this one out. I think Spiker is going to be kind of off-keter, off-balance by the fact they're attacking onto Cafeteria now. I'm sure they were probably expecting to attack the bottom floor.
You gotta keep them on their toes, though, no? And that's exactly what they're doing here. Oh, I mean... Sorry, I had a tickle in my throat there. And I would like some commendation for figuring out how to use the mute button. But anyway,
Good job, Parker.
you need to keep them on their toes, right? And that's exactly what we see happening. But in Spiker's credit, as this bandwave is just going absolutely bananas right now. Good riddance. Don't come back.
That was so many.
Did you see the one earlier?
Yeah.
During the Canada division? That was insane, too.
Yeah, it's just been going and going and going. Really happy to see all of those
Accounts
people.
removed.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Accounts.
people.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, or them, get taken out of the game. Good riddance. Don't come back.
Now, here's
as
some
Parker
great
said.
intel, by the way, from Spiker, just as we look here. Both of those Zofia concussions went off, and they are obviously proximity blasts, so you know that there's people positioned in those areas. One of them is Jarvis, who's waiting inside of kids' dorms. He has a hatch if he wants to drop it. He knows that the Dokkaebi is going to pressure and is getting spotted, and Dokkaebi looks for the cams as best as she can. Jarvis does bait in Alex, and a second from him as well onto Toon as, well, Ghost goes for a run out and hits a Claymore. Jarvis is going to drop, and they need to watch from above. His prod was down much earlier on. Jarvis looking to get brought back up, but Trippin is very wary of it. It's just Trippin and Jarvis, so they have to be particularly careful here, knowing that the match is on the line. There's no OT after this round, but it'll come close. There goes an air jab and another logic bomb, so the annoyances from Spiker are working out really well. There goes Trippin. He doesn't understand that there's going to be somebody playing by White Stairs, so the team captain himself, Samuel Jarvis, will need to be the one to win it for his team. There's a drone. Does he get spotted? That's the real question. There's no way for him back into kitchen, but you can see the sights realign, and, well, a pre-fire from the bottom of the hallway, and he looks the wrong way. He looks to the left, but they're actually to the right, and Mata gets the final kill that'll set us into round 12. Still match point in favor of PogChamp, though.
This is very close to the map getting locked out still. They've got one more try left before we get to OT. I'm expecting PogChamp to go to the bottom floor here. I'm thinking they're going to be like, okay, we tried to surprise them. It didn't work. Let's stick to our guns, go downstairs. And it looks like that's what we're going to get right now. PogChamp have selected it. It's likely they'll lock that in. I expect Spiker will be prepared for this and fully expect it. Now, this is the moment that matters most, because thus far through this map, we've seen both teams run undefeated on this bomb site. Defense always wins downstairs. And if that trend continues, then obviously we get ourselves map number 1 going towards PogChamp. So high stakes here, of course, for Spiker. This is a best of 3, but it's going to be a pretty close one, I think. Well, I mean, it's already proven to be a pretty close one. Sorry, this last round is going to be a pretty close one. I think that we might even get that OT, as much as this site has been good for the defense so far.
Let's look at the maps that are coming up, and we've got Cafe Dostoevsky, and then following it is Coastline. This is PogChamp's map. Let's keep that in mind as well, Michael.
This is, yeah, that's true. So that should be an advantage for PogChamp, but what we've seen so far is, even if this is an advantage for PogChamp, I mean, Spiker is proving to be plenty capable of going toe-to-toe with them. And that's really awesome to see. You love to have that. Any kind of one-sided match, it's never fun to watch.
We've been seeing a lot of 3 maps actually recently. Yes, both of yesterday's U.S. division maps went to 3, or matches went to 3, and then on top of that, you also had. There goes a grenade sailing actually over the head of Toon. So just for a second here, we'll focus on what's happening in front of our eyes. Every single match actually that we've watched the last little while has gone to 3 maps. Both U.S. division matches and then the Canton Division 1 as well. Samuel Jarvis. He decides to peek bunker, takes out Toon. There's the Sledge who was involved earlier on, and every member of PogChamp is going to head for the hills. And just as we saw from Mirage, it's going to be a late reinforcement onto the rotate that leads from supply into bunker. So you're a lot safer now as the defense. Additionally, that's another piece that Takeoff, the Maverick, and the only hard breacher on Spiker's side will need to wrestle with, and they'll prioritize where that blowtorch is going to go.
Looks like it's going to be onto the blue wall, the deep one. As they start opening up that angle, that's going to cut off a lot of rotations. Well, that is, I believe, just Ghost being dispatched there. So 4-4, and this is still anyone's round. Could go either way, but the advantage is in favor of Spiker because of their HP strength. And they've still got plenty of utility for this execution. Now, there is one C4 in hand for Prod, so he can deny a plant at least once. And there should be, yes, 3 gas canisters for Sweater. So as long as they play well enough, they can deny the plant. And that's just going to make this round come down to time and kills, unless Spiker fall victim to that trap.
Final minute now. It's overtime or map number 2. And after that kill from Sweater, it's, well, PogChamp back on top. Sweater on top, of course, being his name. There goes a toxic gas canister, dealing some damage to Takeoff, whose frag grenade connects and lands at the feet of Prod. Prod's had some pretty incredible clutches so far. Takeoff with limited HP or less than before will open up a line of sight for Alec to see into the back of supply and then leading down to the laundry portion of the map. There's the Dokkaebi logic bomb, and she's still got both of her smokes if she wants to toss them out. Speaking of Sweater playing smoke, he's going to toss out a toxic canister, and then, lucky for him, it's hard to control that SMG-12, but he gets downed, and right now it's Spiker breaking on in. Jarvis in a 1v3. He's got the MX Storm to do work, but he on ADS is at the wrong time. The final kill goes to Takeoff. We're going to head to overtime on map number 1. Neither of these teams are better in regulation.
It looks like we're going the full distance to start things off. And this, Parker, this feels a lot like that match we had earlier in the Canadian division. A very close one. Gonna come down to the wire. And you know what? After a performance like this, I'm fully expecting all 3 maps. Now,
I would say the same. I would absolutely say the same.
So we've had this really close performance just to start us off, but now we go on to the overtime, and it's gonna be defense first for PogChamp. I'd say that's an advantage for Spiker, wouldn't you?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, if you look at this right now, the attacking lineups have been significantly better. It's been 4-2 and 4-2 for the attackers on both of these halves. So I am happy if I'm on the Spiker side of things. Now, if you look at when Spiker was on defense, they won Laundry both times. Those are the only bomb sites they were successful on. So no matter what happens here, we can safely assume that Laundry Supply is going to be the bomb site for Spiker to go to on their only defense in overtime. As for PogChamp, well, they won Laundry, and then they won Meeting Hall and Kitchen. So they can really go wherever they want. They only went to Meeting once. The lineup for PogChamp on defense was Laundry Supply Room, Kids twice in a row, then Meeting, then Dining, and back to Laundry. So they have opportunities to go to different bomb sites and possibly catch Spiker off guard. Now, they're upstairs in Kids, which is very interesting because defending in Kids' dorms, when you've lost it twice, doesn't exactly strike me as the most intuitive thing in the world.
No, and I would agree with that sentiment, Parker. This is not like not a decision I would have made necessarily, but then again, as you, Parker, I don't play at this level, so I guess it's up to PogChamp to make these decisions. No one's held this site though yet, and that's why it's so scary. We'll see if it's going to be PogChamp to do it first. Maverick opening up the tower wall as per usual. And you can slow that down with things like mute jammers and Taiyids, but you can't really stop the Maverick. Sometimes the electricity will be a little bit of a deterrent, like he has to play a little bit safer or open it slightly slower, but at best you're saving seconds. So I think that is why we're seeing so much of this Maverick play. With the Thatcher bands coming in, it's just circumventing that whole equation. Just, hey, we're going to open the wall. That's done. Moving on with our lives. Gas canister, rather, smoke grenades used there by Sonar. Deep in attic. I'm assuming to allow for a push, but no push has followed up those smoke grenades yet.
I wonder if it's being done just simply as a distraction, because the Dokkaebi hasn't really used those smokes at all. This time around, though, Sonar's used both of them, and while Sweater's cooled off, Alec hasn't. That's his 15th kill. The Zofia can work in order to give a major advantage to Spiker, and that opening pick is going to set up the showdown, a 4v5 that doesn't favor PogChamp. So Spiker gets the kill that they need to start things off with. I don't know if they've been aware, though, of Jarvis's position in Armory, and he finally gets droned out, but he doesn't really have anywhere to go, and he's in a lot of trouble. There's an air jab. He's finished off. Good joint effort, and of course, it's Alec yet again to claim that kill.
Friendship ended with Sweater. Now young Alec is best friend, as he has picked up so many kills over the series of this second half. It's just one after another for him. Ghost is similar. He's been waking up in the second half, but he's going to be felled finally by Toon after shutting down young Alec. Sonar from White Stairs gets tripping. Now it's all on Prod. Luckily, he's got the Alda, and it is mostly reloaded. So he'll be able to do some work with this. That's one. No second, though. DMR hits him down to about 50 HP, so Zika tests White. It's very dangerous. He might die to another one of those shots. Take off. Going for the plant. Sonar covering. Mata as well. Post plant now, and this is all but unwinnable here for Prod. He likely won't be able to bring this one home. So that's going to put Spiker up 7-6. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. Prod knows where his opponent is on the staircase, uses impact to distract him, finishes him off, pre-fire the right angle, but he misses the shot. Take off, a nice wide peak there, and Spiker will lock out that round. A great execution on 2 games.
Spiker have yet to have the lead in this entire map, and now they have it sitting on match point. A hell of a time to get it, frankly, as they've trailed PogChamp for the better part of an hour now. So kudos to Spiker and the way that they played that. I'm going to question very openly why PogChamp decided that in overtime to go back to a bomb site that they had struggled on twice before and not won. You've won laundry downstairs. You lost it the second time you went there. You lost dining, but you won meeting. Why not roll the die and go back to meeting? Why try the one bomb site that you defended more than once and lost both times? I think it's a little suspect decision-making, but they obviously know better than I do. As we had predicted, given the fact that laundry was the bomb site that Spiker won twice, with the match on the line, or the map on the line, that's exactly where Spiker's going to go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what's really scary if I'm PogChamp. I now have to attack onto what, in my personal opinion, is the hardest attack for anyone, for either team so far. The defenses downstairs for Spiker are the most confident round wins I think we've seen through this map. They were looking really solid down here. PogChamp didn't really have a good showing the 2 times they attacked onto this bomb site, and I don't really expect it to get any better. So Spiker on OT match point, as you said, Parker, taking their first lead in this match, on match point no less. That's really intimidating if I'm PogChamp. And starting off with a loss would not be great here.
All right, well, I mean, I'm excited for Cafe no matter what happens here, because obviously,
Same.
as we saw from our matchup just earlier today, that Cafe plays very differently from Oregon. I do like the diversity that Oregon brings. I like seeing the way that teams take meeting. I do like seeing dining, and even though there's very little love that's been given recently to Small Tower, it's still an area where there's playmaking potential. Things look pretty standard downstairs inside of Bunker, as there's a setup with a rotate, and I would expect that after 30 to 40 seconds, as we see the ADSs being positioned over towards the main stairs, that the call has been made, hey, they're actually not going for Bunker. So let's move towards where we know they're coming, the bottom of the main stairs. That is going to be the location for PogChamp push. Well, that and Freezer.
Yeah, Freezer has been the main push location for PogChamp for every round they've come here. And yes, as well, Parker. Main stairs, they try to pincer those 2 positions. It hasn't worked either of the times that PogChamp has tried it. But, you know, third time's the charm, right, Parker? Or at least that seems to be the thought process here for PogChamp. We'll see if it actually turns out that way. Right now, just, again, that hesitation we saw the last time PogChamp attacked this way. Nothing really coming of it. Stuns will stun Sweater. They're trying to clear out the ADS to allow the shield to be destroyed. 3 shields. There's not... Well, there is just barely enough soft destruction to deal with that. Oh, no, sorry, I spoke too soon. There's the nades as well. So I guess they'll probably be able to get the shields. But they got to be very careful with their soft destruction placement because those can really be a problem later on. The second shield was not gotten by the second lifeline, so that's unfortunate. Shield inside of Freezer dealt with, though. So it's this shield that actually won the round for Spiker last time they went here that still persists. That could be another problem in this round.
And there's a stun that's going to go out, and it's going to hit the Maestro, waiting to see if anybody bothers to blink. Nobody really giving anything. Trippin is just waiting for the call for him to rush in and start to go for the plant. Sweater inside of Freezer is going to hold an angle that is crucial for locking down the defenders. And Jarvis now in on the fun as well. Motto with 2, he rips through everybody, no diffuser down. He gets stopped in his tracks by Sweater prone on the ground, who's now joined by Jarvis. Those 2 so strong inside of the Freezer. It's Alec against the world in a 1v3. He's just waiting. Diffuser getting planted. Looking over towards Freezer. Cannot control the SMG-11 and cannot control anything, let alone the round. Sweater, he comes alive when they need him the most. And we're going to go to round 15 on Oregon.
Impact frags from Sweater. Big round from him as well, cutting off the rotation at the end of Freezer hallway. And yeah, we're going the distance, Parker. This whole day we had... This is the 3rd map where you really get that close or rather the 4th map. Pardon me. Where you really get that close competition. And it's going to be, surprise, the bottom floor for PogChamp. See, Parker, this is why they didn't go to the bottom floor in their first overtime round. They wanted to save it for the last round, just in case. I know that doesn't make any sense, but I don't know. I'm just trying to be facetious. Anyway.
You may be facetious, by the way.
Thank you, Parker.
I grant you permission.
I now feel absolutely wonderful about my facetiousness and vindicated in my decision. Now, blah, 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 or justified. Either way, doesn't matter. PogChamp downstairs, last round. Spiker tried to hold on to this. The shields, actually surprisingly not working out for them. This is an interesting change between Spiker and PogChamp setup. The way they open up the freezer wall. Both teams open the freezer wall. But PogChamp is deciding to open up on the right side rather than the left. That is going to change the angle play that's going to come out when the attackers get control of Freezer. And it's very curious. I think it has to do with the angle from the staircase because it's, you know, a diagonal engagement that's kind of awkward for a defender to take. But I don't know. It's just what PogChamp are opting for, whatever the case be. Now, Spiker has been primarily attacking through construction, so I don't know if that's going to be terribly relevant anyway. It will also allow for, actually it could be, because it will allow for the player in Freezer, if there's a defender in Freezer, it will allow them to peek into the main hallway from that position, as you can see. And that's a really important thing, because that main hallway where you see Sweater just coming out of right now is a huge part of the defense.
So, back down to that fabled laundry room bomb site with everything on the line. I hope that everybody is enjoying seeing Challenger League, by the way, on the main channel. We don't often get a lot of Challenger League play broadcasted here, and it's been something that people have been talking about for quite a while. Additionally, there are other Challenger League games that are currently ongoing whose scores that you are capable of finding if you go to various social media outlets. I know, for example, The Last Dance Beast Coast game is already over, and the score has been reported on both Twitter and Reddit. You're more than welcome to look for it yourself. I believe Young, formerly of Evil Geniuses, went and tweeted about it, so head on over to his Twitter page if you'd like to be updated. Anywho.
Parker, Sweater has 21 kills.
Oh my goodness.
That is... The man is on an absolute... He could definitely... What is the record right now for one?
I think Polly's record think is 27.
Okay, well,
I believe, which is just out of reach. I think Citizen holds the professional play record with 23, I
but
think.
that wouldn't be attainable here anyway, so.
Correct. Trippin gets the kill anyway, so no matter what, it's out of reach, period. And you see how high Sweater can get on this as he's currently smurfing on everybody. Prod is just, or Trippin rather, is just wasting a ton of time inside a freezer as there's a frag grenade that was almost ready, but then pocketed yet again. Not very realistic, but it's going to drop at the feet of Trippin and do no damage, actually. Might have even been eaten by an ADS if Ghost had put one in there.
No, just went too far, unfortunately. And Spiker not getting control of Freezer. That's going to really work against them in this round. And somehow you can see Prod has persisted. No C4 in hand, and he's been spotted, but that Maverick hold just above him has not been to his undoing just yet. Second nade misses, and that's really bad. That means Trippin can continue to apply pressure from the freezer and continue to hold that main hallway, which forces the bottleneck to be just that one door into B. The gas canisters can hold that door by themselves. Smokes go out into the freezer door, and Prod's going to take takeoff as he pushes into the site. Down goes Prod, though. Good job to Sonar, but he's not going to get any more as Sweater shuts him down with this 20-second kill. He'll be taken out, though. No, actually, that's Jarvis. Get down, Mr. President. And it's just on tune. He'll be eliminated by Ghost. And GG's in the chat. Well, good halves, I suppose, as PogChamp take map number 1.
That's obviously way too close for comfort if you're a team like PogChamp. They know that they are going to be one of the best teams on paper when it comes to the US Challenger League, but no offense to Spiker, if you want to be the best, you need to be winning decisively. Doesn't matter who it is that you're playing against. Honestly, if you don't have Sweater dropping 23 kills, I don't think PogChamp even comes close to staying in this game.
And welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, well, an impressive
I didn't realize
performance
I popped up on camera,
from
but here
Sweater,
I am.
And you really got to admire his job in putting up those kills for his team. So that's map number 1. We still have 2 more maps potentially in the series, certainly 1 more, and we'll get to that after this short break.
Welcome back, I'm Jackie Jing, and I am with Kix and Intero. Another 15-rounder, folks. PogChamp securing that win there, 8-7 on Oregon. That was a match. Kix, both you and Intero were talking about PogChamp's bomb site selection, so I wanted to pick your brain about that. Can you talk about the decisions that were made there?
Yeah, there were some interesting ones by both teams, actually. Both of them trying to trip up their opponent by going to other bomb sites when the bottom floor was the only site that consistently worked for both squads. And of course, you know, it wasn't 100%, but it was pretty close to it. The best site, for sure, for the defense. And in the end, obviously, as we all got to see, that is why PogChamp managed to take it. But the fact that they didn't go to that bottom floor defense in their first defensive overtime was kind of perplexing. And some could say, or you might suggest, that is why we had that go all 15 rounds. A little bit scary there, a little bit Monka-esque, as I'm sure PogChamp fans would say. But it worked out in the end. That's all that matters. Well done to PogChamp. And still a nice performance from their opponent, Spiker.
And Intero, I had a question for you. You said that we've seen a lot of 3-map matches lately, and I really wanted to get your perspective on how this has affected teams. I know that's kind of like jumping the gun here, but I heard you both speculating like, hey, this could go to 3, you know?
The way that I see it is when you move out of a best-of-1 format, the teams that have the bigger map pools are usually going to win in the long run, but when you have a best-of-3, it's usually a given that unless teams are really imbalanced in terms of ability, you're going to see all 3 maps. Because teams right now, they'll likely have 2 to 3 really, really strong maps. And then out of the 7-map pool, they'll usually have 2 insta-bans, and then the remaining 2 maps will either be okay, or they won't be particularly good on in comparison to their opponents. And the thing is that in this instance with Challenger League, you don't know what your opponent's map pools are necessarily, but at the top league in the US division, when the teams are quite close to each other, you know what maps your opponents do and don't play. And given the fact that it's ban, ban, pick, pick, your opponents can't ban both of their bad maps right away. You get to pick one of them, and if you know who your opponent is ahead of time, you can prepare for that quite easily and basically render the map ban useless, and then go to a 3rd map with both teams tied at 1 apiece.
All right, well, will this be a 3-mapper, or will PogChamp do it in 2? We will find out in a little bit. We have map 2 next. We'll be right back.
Or not back. I think we're going right into the match, actually.
We're
so
gonna
we can
play
just,
video games.
We can play.
Never mind. Go right to it. Go right to
games,
it.
So
take it away, boys.
no time for
Take it
breaks.
away.
Only gaming.
Welcome to the Gamer Club. Up in here we game. PogChamp
the slam.
All right, so ban phase starting off. We've got PogChamp on defense. They'll get rid of Thatcher right off the cuff. That's the same thing that happened in the last map. Now, actually, now that I think about it, has Thatcher been banned every single map today?
I'd have to no, because there was that one map where it was Thatcher or Thermite and Hibana.
Okay, all but one. That's a pretty good record, all things considered. And it's gonna be Thermite to follow up the Thatcher ban. We'll see what Spiker gets rid of on defense. Now I'm gonna be surprised. This is Cafe, so I will be surprised if Kai doesn't get banned, considering Thatcher is banned. Because he plays a huge part on all of these sides, really, in denying that hard breach. And if you don't have a Thatcher, it can be very arduous to get rid of the Kaid Electroclaw. Sometimes you have to go deep into enemy territory to do so. And if that's not the ban, this is going to be a really different match. Oh, it's not. Maestro taken out. Okay. This will be special, assuming the Kaid actually gets brought. And Maverick has been consistently brought from both teams as the primary hard destruction. So it's possible to try and just circumvent that whole Maverick thing, Kaid thing, just by bringing the blowtorch. And that would make sense as well. It's a slower and, as I said, more arduous solution to the problem, but it works.
Downstairs we go for the very first defense and the very first attack for Spiker. This is something that we touched on in the previous match, where we see teams forego Kyle and Bar on that top floor and instead go to Kitchen or even Reading to, I guess, maybe bring something new. And a lot of teams have decided that Reading will be their secondary bomb site so that they have that little gap between the top of the building, and they have the third floor to roam on, knowing that the attackers need to take the second floor. So all of that said, it is very likely, given the lineup that we see, of course there being a Vigil on the board is usually a dead giveaway, and then a Mozzie as well, that PogChamp is probably going to keep 2 people, maybe even just 1 on that third floor, and then probably keep 1 on the second floor at minimum. This is actually a very old school, well, I mean, it's from 3 months ago, but this is an old school meta, given that Mozzie isn't really played all that much anymore. But you remember, Mute, Mozzie, and Vigil together was an absolute nuisance to deal with for teams, and is going to be especially problematic for teams that are less experienced.
Yeah, it certainly will be, as that's going to limit your droning potential quite extensively. And you got the Vigil on top of all that. I mean, it's just layers and layers and layers of anti-drone at that point, right? You got 2 operators that aren't contributing to that equation, and those 2 operators happen to be contributing to the anti-throwable, anti-grenade, or projectile equation in your Wamai and Jaeger, pardon me. Sorry about that. Now, that is a very, I'd say, a min-max lineup you're seeing from PogChamp right now. They've got an idea that they want to really lean into, or 2 ideas in this case, and they're leaning hard. We'll see how that works against Spiker, who have brought 2 sets of nades, 2 sets of stuns. They should be able to clear out the ADSs and the Wamai discs pretty effectively. On the side of droning, though, that is going to be just, standard hindrance. They don't have the Thatcher that is so essential at getting rid of those mute jammers or those Mozzie pests. I think it was Macy J who... Oh, hang on. Oh, okay, nothing happened there. It was Macy J who made a tweet, actually, about how you can get around a lot of the more common Mozzie pest placement. If you put it on, like, the corner of one doorway, which is most often done, put it, like, lower corner, you could just kind of jump over it. I just thought that was... I thought it was really interesting. I wonder if we'll see any of that in this, considering how prevalent Mozzie has been.
If there's going to be anybody who finds ways around the trickery that pros can bring, it's going to be Macy J. The man has a brain so big, I don't know how a human skull can actually fit it, but there's a second kill from Prod as he takes down 2, and the entry from Alec was shut down, one of the best players in the lobby on the previous map, and Alec will need to repeat that if Spiker wants to have just as much of a chance. Just like that, Spiker's on the board, though. Mata takes out Prod. Mozzie will not be able to do any more damage on White Stairs. Now the Capitao of Mata is engaged in a second fight. This time the call to action is going to be answered by Sweater, but instead, he thinks better of it, and he'll head on over to Red Stairs, sitting and just waiting patiently. But the one thing that is flying under the radar right now is how much time Spiker is wasting. They still need to translate this take towards the bottom floor.
That's going to be a difficult transition with only 35 seconds left to go, and this one-man disadvantage. On top of that, Mata and Takeoff have already incurred some damage of their own, so that's not going to be easy when they go into future engagements. Harry Potter being played by Sweater on top. He's doing his best to disrupt the push into the hallway. That's all he needs to do for his team. Ghost is going to get Takeoff, as I believe he attempts to push in through the freezer. I'm not entirely sure. Mata trying to challenge the Harry Potter play, but it's not going to work out. He is a wizard after all. Sonar on the push into sight will be shut down, and that's it. PogChamp take the round, and that defense of the bottom floor. A solid hold out there as the attack attempted to transition, and look at that. They didn't even get the freezer wall open entirely. Maverick was killed before he could finish the job.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I touched on it halfway through that round, and I think the bigger issue is that once you lost 2 of your members about halfway through the round, how do you then go from an already challenging roam clear to an even harder roam clear and then look towards the bottom of the map? I mean, that's the real issue here, and in keeping with what I'd said at the start of the first round and something that we've talked about at length, it won't be a bar cocktail defense. This reading room fireplace hall has become the new default second bomb site for an awful lot of teams on Cafe, and once again, it's because it gives you that breathing room by not having to defend right on that third floor. If there's one thing that I'm taking from that first round that PogChamp did so exceedingly well, it was roaming. Obviously, when you have a Mute, a Mozzie, and a Vigil working, as a trio, it's so hard to be able to gain information because you've got to dodge the pests, you've got to dodge the jammers, and you've got to deal with a Vigil who is mobile, even if the jammers and the pests aren't. So when you look at the lineup that's being brought from PogChamp this time, they're going with their own form of intel with the Valkyrie, still running with a bit of the trickery from Vigil and Mute, and then bringing Wamai and Jaeger, who have been seen so often requiring a lot to burn through on the attacker's side. The good news is that the answer to that composition lies in the hands of Sonar, with Ying being present, and as long as one of those Candelas goes off appropriately, it can clear out a hefty amount of the denial that comes from Wamai and Jaeger.
Good information gathered here from the Valkyrie cam of Prod. He's doing his best to go or set up a run out for Sweater. You can see Sweater's ready. He's going for it. It's the Ying. Will he land the shot? The answer? Kinda, but he dies in the end. Ending up doing 75 damage to Sonar before being eliminated by the ACOG. That is superior in that sort of engagement. Kind of surprised, to be honest. If anyone, I would expect Sweater to be landing those shots. Now,
that is a very definite missed opportunity, and I get it. Sweater's done that a couple times. You know, he went for a peek previously on Oregon. It looked like he was doing the same thing through the balcony on, what was he on, red stairs? So, or white stairs rather? No, he was on red stairs.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was on
one
white
of the
stairs.
Staircases.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was red stairs. It wasn't white stairs.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you're Sweater, you can take those opportunities and kind of toy with your food. I mean, he got 23 kills last map, for crying out loud. Let Sweater do what Sweater wants to do. At the same time, he has now set his team back, and I mean, Vigil is not the most crucial operator, but when the greatest asset that you had last round was unpredictability to stall your opponents, you've now taken your best asset out of the match in terms of that objective, and also the best player on the shoulders of PogChamp.
Well, those Ying Candelas working some magic, but so will the C4, and down goes Sonar, not able to actually do anything in the end other than, well, I guess, shut down Sweater on the run out earlier in the round. Nade coming into the white stairs, and was going to try and find someone that's, well, tripping, I believe, but he just barely manages to avoid that. Well, nothing coming after as a follow-up. Trippin will be allowed to persist on the white stairs, and he'll probably rotate eventually. Ghost trying to hold upstairs. He's alone now. With no easy retreat, he can drop at any point, but the railing is still there, and because of the railing still being there, he'll be forced to vault, and Mata will catch him on said vault. At least Ghost got one before he was eliminated. Probably could have shot the railing instead of vaulting. It is what it is, though. Hindsight 2020, as I like to say. Jarvis will fall back deeper into the white hallway by pallets. Feeling the pressure from Mata's firebolt. And, okay, I say pressure. There's 30 seconds left, and the attack is really, really behind, I gotta say. They need to speed things up. That's a good use of the magnet there. I mean, it's obviously not necessarily intended, but it is a use of the magnet. Gets rid of one of those smoke bolts from the Capitao, so he has to push, expecting a crossfire from white. He knows one's by pallets, and he'll lose the fight regardless, but at least Toon gets the refrag. Only 5 seconds, really, for this execution to take place, and the railing continuing to be a hindrance. Last two defenders just waiting it out, and they will be successful. Prod gets one, but it really didn't matter in the end. There wasn't enough time for that plant to take place. Great job to PogChamp, holding out on reading.
And all of that was accomplished as well without the Vigil being in play for PogChamp. That's one of the most astonishing parts of that round for me, was that all of the time that was wasted on the side of PogChamp by denying Spiker from being able to get where they needed to go, and yet they did it without the best tool on PogChamp's arsenal. So Sweater obviously went for a gamble against Sonar. That's fine, he lost it, but PogChamp recovered admirably. It was very apparent that Sweater was likely going to roam up top, by having him die early and then having Ghost rotate up there so he could quickly drop back down towards that second floor. It allowed PogChamp to still hold the same amount of map control, but do so without sacrificing any real space on said map. You just hope that the Mute Jammers are in a position where Spiker seems to be blindly checking everything, and from almost every perspective we got on that round, Michael, that's exactly what it was. Spiker was on drones for a very minimal period of time, at least from our perspective. They could have been on it more, and we just didn't exactly get the best heads up. But that's a significant challenge that Spiker is going to have to overcome, especially since this is 3 rounds in a row that Sweater is going to be running this Vigil, and there's a Mute on the board. So these two intel denying operators are obviously very much in the setup for PogChamp. But I would imagine that unless things go horrifically on one of these rounds, we're going to see them get used quite often. What this means is that the problems that Spiker has, being able to drone, being able to roam clear, being able to entry confidently, It's not going to get any better unless Spiker just starts getting better as this match goes on, because the lineup from PogChamp, at least so far, through half of this half, hasn't changed.
Yeah. This might be, you know, it is defense first on Cafe, right? So it's early on, but this might be our first 2-0 of the day, which would be, I think, a little bit of a surprise. But the nature to which PogChamp managed to win the first map and how dominant they've looked so far in this second leads me to suspect that Spiker's going to have a bit of a struggle on this map. I'm not, I mean, it's too early to call. We're going to find out as this progresses. But it's looking pretty good for PogChamp. Spiker hasn't shown me anything that's like screaming, hey, you know, we know what we're going to do here. We're comfortable here. That top floor clear in the last round was especially slow and ultimately didn't work out for Spiker. They never got to the bomb site. They died before they could. So that speaks a lot to how they are as a team on this map, considering, I mean, it was reading a pretty common bomb site. Now, we're going to see the sledge inside of Piano opening up above, trying his best to apply some pressure to the player inside of Train. That's Trippin, who's going to be maneuvering and avoiding this sledge. Toon has eaten some damage. Trippin will fall to the red hall by 90. Good position for the smoke to play. He can apply a lot of pressure to the bomb site. He can deny that plant, deny that push. He's in a great spot to do so. And from that position, he will be hard to push out. Sweater will be eliminated, though. That's the first casualty here for either team, and Smoke is caught out, but he manages to make it back. That's a good job for Trippin actually surviving that. Sweater has yet to really wake up in this match, but it's okay. His teammates have been contributing plenty and really showing their opponent what for. Takeoff takes down Ghost. So things are looking pretty good for Spiker, but suddenly Prod's going to wake up and contribute his own kill to Sonar. Mata gets Jarvis back and forth here, as it's down to the two SMG-11 operators, the SAS guys. Smoke and Mute, Trippin and Prod.
Good players to have in the stretch, especially with what they bring to the table, but now you've lost Trippin and all you have is Prod without a nitro cell, so no direct denial to stop a plant from down, and too many people from Spiker are all watching the same direction. Say goodbye to the remaining SAS operators that were on PogChamp's lineup, and say hello to the very first round for Spiker here on Cafe Dostoevsky.
Yeah, good round there for Spiker. Now, they have managed to take one, but it was on the tertiary site, reading. So, Kitchen is unlocked here for Cafe. They have an option now.
They have an option of...
Sorry, they have an option of going to Kitchen, that option that they're a site they're more comfortable on.
The last time we saw Kitchen from PogChamp was when they brought out that Mute, Mozzie, Vigil, etc. And in this case, they're making one change. They're bringing a Valkyrie in place of the Mozzie, which is interesting. I mean, they're keeping it fresh, which I appreciate. But at the same time, it was such a successful defense last time that, I mean, you don't even really need to tinker with that much. You could change up a couple things. Spiker had a lot of discomfort when it came to trying to drone you out. They had issues taking control of that third floor. When they did get to the second floor, it was basically too late at that point. And then they didn't even get so much as close to being able to sniff the actual bomb site. So the change that is being made from PogChamp, like I said, I like that it is to a certain extent fresh. I like that it's innovative over what they brought on round number 1, but it isn't entirely necessary.
5 seconds left before insertion.
With that said, what are going to go for yet another spawn peek? Because that's what his MO has been so far. Looks like no. He breaks the windows and he's already living in the heads of Spiker rent-free right now. He's also got the Bolo charm on. I am assured at this point, Michael, it is a conspiracy, by the way.
Okay, Parker. I'm pretty sure that they just want to show support for Bolo.
No.
And they also...
No.
No? No, it's not showing support for Bolo, Parker?
I mean, it is, but I think there's sinister motives here.
Is it the Bolo Naughty?
What?
I don't know. I came up with it on the spot.
It's like the Illuminati, but for Bolo.
The Bolo Naughty. I like it. I don't know. We can push that. The Bolo
I'm
Nada
down
here,
to work it
repping
in.
the Bolo charm.
We got a good cycle of the Valcams there, by the way, one of which was inside of prep, and the lack of Thatcher means that unless you bring an IQ, you're not necessarily going to be looking for those Valcams.
Yeah, we'll see if they can find them. I think they might have already. I'm not entirely sure, though. They're pre-sledging the wall, and the reason they do that is that way when Maverick opens the wall, it's just everything open, and the sledge doesn't have to risk anything and get aggressive and peek onto the wall and die. Takeoff is going to open it with Maverick now, and he's going to get that angle opened for the rest of his teams to start rest of his teammates rather to start challenging into the site. Half the round left for Spiker to make this execute happen, and I gotta say, Takeoff is really struggling with this wall. It's a little bit scary, actually.
You know, I always get really nervous, especially the bottom portion of the wall, because it's, oh, watch your ankles, watch your ankles.
Right.
Just make sure you don't get shot at.
They got it open, though. And decent enough time. They've got a minute to use the angle they've just opened up. Ghost and Trippin going to be the direct confrontation in the site. Trippin does have a C4, so that's going to be a big factor. He'll be able to deny the plant really effectively from that position. He's also made a rotation for himself. Dell's going
The one thing I really like here, by the way, is, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Once again, I miss those hand gestures, etc. To know when to talk. The one thing I really like here is that they're completely bypassing roam clear. They're just going for broke inside a bakery. All 5 members of Spiker are lined up in the same direction.
Yeah, and that's necessary, especially when you have a situation where you're so low on time, even though you're going for such a direct attack. That's because of the duration, or how long it takes to open up the wall into the site. Missed opportunity there from Trippin. SMG-11 is really hard to control on that kind of an angle, and the response will be a downed Trippin before Sweater's able to get Sonar. Sweater finally showing up to this match, and Ghost is going to get Mata after Mata gets one for himself. The back and forth, as we've talked about before. This time it's Spiker who's coming out really underneath, and Jarvis gets the final kill, but Sweater, what around from him? Coming in and clearing up at the right moment, the right time. It was just an array of fights there coming between the breach, prep, and the rest of the bomb site.
See, here's the problem with not bothering to clear out the roamers is that you have to go through one of 2 directions to get into the bomb site. You either go through that bakery wall or you go through prep. There was nowhere else that we saw Spiker try to go. They didn't even attempt to head towards the second wall that leads into the other part of the kitchen. So they just simply went through 2 avenues. And when trying to push a 5v5 fight like that, it really just does come down to those gunfights. It's going to come down to whether you have stuns, whether you have smokes, whether you have flashes, etc. And if I'm being honest, Sonar missed a whole whack of shots as the Ying. He had a perfectly prone opponent through the wall that he could have done a lot of damage to, wasn't able to hit all the shots he needed. The Candela went off, but it seemed like it was a little bit too shallow and wasn't able to actually blind anybody on PogChamp's side. So those were just some small missteps that were made after what was a very dedicated and clear push through Bakery. You can pull it off. Teams have pulled off bakery pushes all the time, and they can do it fighting 5v5, but usually you do it once you've cut through most of what the defense has at their disposal. And most importantly, the one thing that we really haven't seen is teams try to pull it off with both Wamai and Jaeger lording over top of the attackers, which is the meta that we're in right now.
Yeah, they're so important, and dealing with those throwables and those projectiles that you'll get from like the lifeline or from Ash's breaching charges. Now, while those are incredibly important, I mean, that really just pushes more pressure onto those, bringing enough stuns. You know, I think most rounds you're going to see at least 2 operators bringing flashes / stuns. And in this case, it's going to be Young Alec and Mata who are doing just that.
Young Alec has been very quiet here in comparison to map number 1.
Yeah.
Granted, maybe he's far more comfortable on a map like Oregon. I mean, we still are trying to find out Oregon's place as a map. Is it a fragger's paradise, as the old Oregon used to be to a certain extent, and Coastline is, and Border was, and Consulate is starting to shape up to be, or is it far more strat heavy, as we see from a map like Clubhouse, or a map like Villa, or an old map like Bank? So that's a question that needs to be asked, and we'll begin to have an answer the more that we see Oregon get played. As of right now, it's still a question mark, and people can speculate, but, well, and it's anybody's guess at the moment. As for a map like Cafe, I feel like it's a very strategic heavy map, but we've seen teams pug it before many, many times, and they can just get in and get cheeky picks. Defenders can roam with relative ease up top. They can support themselves quite well, especially if you've got a Vigil on the board, especially in the old Mute Mozzie meta. And now, even with the setup that we see from PogChamp, they're still roaming quite heavily up top, aided by these new deployable shields and Valkyrie cams.
These pieces of utility are definitely going to be contributing in the hold quite a lot here for PogChamp. And I like the way that PogChamp is setting this up, by the way. Instead of trying to hold Pixel, they've got a much more far back defense where they're trying to hold it at the end of the white hallway. It's safer. It's, I think it's going to work into the whole there's not a lot of time left on the clock when you eventually go for the push kind of mentality, which is exactly how PogChamp is playing so far on defense. They've been playing very passively, very laid back, and it's been working all right for them. Ghost will be dispatched, though. He's the first kill for either team, and Spiker to get it. With Ghost eliminated, things are looking a little bit more desperate for PogChamp, and there goes Prod. A nice push from young Alec, who said he hasn't woken up yet, and maybe this is his moment. He gets a double kill in this round. Now, it is Jarvis still in Cocktail to get 2 big kills. Oh boy. And that's going to bring it to a 2-on-2. This was an unwinnable round for a little bit there, and PogChamp might have just beaten the odds thanks to Jarvis's performance. Mata now trying to position himself downstairs, but he's actually going to get downed himself through the hole. I believe that was Trippin to get that down. I'm not 100% sure. That is going to make it a 2v1. Takeoff, though, should be able to pick up his teammate. He's going to be doing that just now. Trippin positioning himself in the corner because he knows his kit works great from that position. Nade going onto the doorway. This might actually kill Trippin. We'll see in a second. It will. Down goes Trippin. With 4 seconds left, this is totally winnable. Jarvis is going to have to either quad kill or wait out the time. He can deny the plant, but he's got to land his shots. Oh, this is so desperate. No, Jarvis, no, not like that. So many opportunities, but Mata lands his shots. Jarvis doesn't, and Spiker will take the round.
What good fortune, planned or otherwise, to have a frag grenade in your pocket with 7 seconds left on the clock. Can we talk about that for just a second here?
Yeah.
How many teams still have a frag grenade that late into the round?
Not a whole lot.
It blows me away. And yeah, I'd be frustrated if I was Trippin. That was played perfectly by Trippin, by the way. Absolutely perfectly. And the only problem is that the unlikely scenario in which there's still an explosive in your pocket. That's pretty incredible to think about. That was a round that was so much in the pocket of PogChamp for the final 40 seconds. As you pointed out, that 2-piece from Jarvis really held it together. And I can feel the frustration by Spiker because they enter, they're confident, they head on in through Piano, they head in through Cigar. What happens? They run into countless magnets, countless ADSs, and they can't really do too much to clear them all away. All right, well, that's fine. Almost every team in this meta has to deal with that right now. And now, of course, it's not particularly enjoyable because you just get frustrated as more and more of your gadgetry gets yanked or it gets destroyed. And then the gunfights break down basically in favor of Spiker because they do manage to finally clear out that utility. Jarvis goes, sight unseen over by pallets and then manages to get 2 absolutely impractical kills. And then a pocket grenade is the savior on that round. That is either a galaxy brain thought, planning that all along, or just that you didn't have anywhere else to use it, so you didn't need to use it.
I think he just happened
crazy.
to have it. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Parker. It was crazy, and the fact that he had it there, yeah, I mean, it worked out in the end, right? That's all that matters, I suppose. So maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe this is going to go all the way to that 3-3, and maybe we'll get OT once again. We'll see. I mean, we're not to that point yet. We've had a couple players still yet to show up to the party, mostly on Spiker's side, so there's still plenty of time for that awakening to happen. The reading defense here requires the top floor clear. Well, last time Spiker did clear the top floor, but it took them the whole round. And they really shouldn't have won it. As Parker mentioned, a lot of that comes down to the nade that was still in the pocket of the Maverick. But, well, they did. So we'll see if that clear works out the second time. And I don't know. If it plays out like it did last round, then there's no way that they're going to take this again. Because that was too convenient. I don't know. Too lucky.
been some major changes here, though. The Ying is obviously not being used the entire time. They've got an IQ on the board instead to deal with the Valkyrie that was present and has been used most of the time. But this case, there's no Valkyrie, so it's a funny change from Spiker as it's around just too late. Down goes Toon, though, so the opening pick is PogChamps in their very final defense, and a missed opportunity towards White and a self-flash from the Ash of Alec.
Now, it's not going to be great for Spiker. It's not over yet, though. Still winnable. And they've got control of backbar storage, which is going to open up a lot of angles downstairs into the bomb site. Now, there's some potential yet to be had here. Some picks that could come out here for Spiker, although we're not to that point yet. Push by Cocktail hasn't happened. Spiker is just lingering by backbar storage, which is going to allow Jarvis to pick up one kill by pallets. There's another down there. Sweater will be killed elsewhere, but still PogChamp persists on the top floor until, I guess, just now. They still have Ghost playing behind the shield, I believe, in Cocktail. And just with Sonar and Young Alec alive. Takeoff gets picked up, though, inside a bathroom. Ghost can work some magic here. He'll get one down by pallets. That's the diffuser downed. Prod will also kill Young Alec, leaving just Takeoff in the 1v3. Now, he's got just 20 HP, so that's not a lot to work with. And there's Ghost. Great game sense, great awareness. He'll come up from bathroom and finish off that round. PogChamp racking up these rounds, putting their team in a great spot.
Now, not to play devil's advocate here, but it is a 4-2 on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Which is where you want to be on Cafe.
Yeah.
Good, now we've said that. Okay, we've gotten it out of the way.
Okay.
That's it.
So, yeah, that's a solid spot for PogChamp. It's a solid spot for Spiker. It's not the end of the world for either team. 4-2 is workable. Well, we'll see, I guess, how this goes moving into the second half. Now it's all on PogChamp. How will their attacks hold up? That is the big question. Spiker could easily come alive here in the second half, and then suddenly those defensive rounds are just undeniable. And we get to overtime once more, and then suddenly Spiker wins in that last round. Then we go to the last map, and that goes to overtime. And then right as we're about to finish it, on overtime, on the 15th round, it's the very last round, somebody notices that, oh heck, somebody brought a banned skin. We go to a 30-minute rehost, and then we come back, and then accidentally, once again, another different player on another team brings a banned skin for the last round, and then we do another 30-minute rehost, and then we bring it back in, and then we finish it, and we will go to sleep. I think that would be about 4 a.m.
10 seconds remaining.
Why are you like this?
I didn't mean to leak the script. I'm sorry, Parker. I just forgot that I wasn't supposed to say it out loud.
Weird, my script just says, find new co-caster. That's...
Dead.
Guess we got different ones there, partner.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, no. All right, first defense for Spiker. They're going to start downstairs in kitchen. This is the same bomb site that we saw PogChamp go to for their very first defense, and we're not surprised. This is where the meta has settled on this map. And the bomb site that you see people want to defend on. That is not an angled grip on the IQ, Ghost. Come on, what are you doing here?
He's doing it wrong.
He's playing IQ on hard mode, Michael.
He's doing it wrong. It doesn't have a recoil with the angle grip anyway. Down goes Sonar, though. Sweater's got the R4C. That's the OG OP gun, and he's going to make it work great for himself.
They're about to breach inside a prep. UMP in hand, Takeoff eliminates Trippin. So back right where we started, and that might be damning for PogChamp. Even though we've seen the explosives go off already, the hard breach go off, that is the Hibon off the board, and that can be quite detrimental, as you now need to burn the ADSs. The wall is entirely switched, so actually not as big of a deal as we would have expected, because soft destruction will take out the wall instead. Inadvertently, Spiker has just allowed PogChamp to have a greater advantage without a hard breach. That's exactly where you want to be. I assume that Sweater is trying to open up a line of sight from inside of Small Bakery, but I'm wondering exactly what his thought process is. C4 goes in, just narrowly misses both Sweater and Prod. It threads the needle perfectly, and there's Sweater to take out Mata right after Mata shrugs off a frag grenade dropped on his lap. So things working out well. Oh, he's trying to get the bulletproof camera. There it goes. Intel from inside a small bakery is now gone. Return fire from Alec playing at the bottom of red stairs, but he can't hit the target he wants, and that's obviously Sweater playing by front of bakery. A bit of a pause in the action as the teams will regroup with a minute to go.
Now, Tooney's got a big role to play here as Ella. He's in a very important position, a linchpin position, as he's got a firm grasp on the A-bomb site. He has been droned out by Ghost, though, as has Takeoff. So their positions being known, it should be a pretty easy push for PogChamp, assuming they can win the gunfight against the Ella. Meanwhile, young Alec is roaming, if I'm not mistaken, and he is on the red stairs. He'll be cutting off that red hallway. This is another important play. And if Spiker can hold on to this, they should be able to get some free kills. It's just young Alec, though, and it doesn't seem like the attack is aware of him, but it might not matter. He picks up one kill, goes for the play onto the main lobby, but doesn't even see the player in the site. Jarvis picks up that final frag, and PogChamp will take yet another round, looking really solid on their attacking half.
Yeah, they look much more on Cafe through these 7 rounds. Mind you, 4 of them, as we said, were rather 6 of them were on defense, 4 of which ended up being victories. So things going according to plan for PogChamp and right where they want to be. Kudos to them for the way that they're playing it. But you also got to realize that one of the best attributes of Spiker over Oregon was their ability to play tight angles, rat corners, as they're referred to as, by the way, in the amateur scene, and even by those in the pro scene, let's be honest. Rat corners, of course, being like tight angles, playing in positions you're not expecting somebody to play. They're possibly prone. They might be crouching, unexpected angles. Anywho, you basically have them in those positions, and they're able to take gunfights and peak very aggressively. I know that we talked about it probably 5 or 6 times that I can directly remember on Oregon, where what happened was Spiker just took fights, and that was it. They took a fight. They didn't need to take the fight. They took the fight. They won it. It didn't even come down to utility usage or anything like that. In this case, it's harder to do that on Cafe, I feel. It is a map where you can roam and be able to make plays. There's no doubt about that. But it's not as a claustrophobic a map, as we want to call it, as Oregon is. So you need to be a bit more structured. Obviously on attack, Spiker was not as structured as they could be. It showed. They need to be better than that previous round, because with the exception of the play on red stairs by the Jaeger, there wasn't a lot that I would look at that I would be super proud of. And honestly, that's Alec getting impactless frags in the death throes of his team on that round. You have to be a team that is able to fight off the attackers. They got the Hibana pick. That was big. You need more stuff like that, because even without the Hibana, which should have been a death sentence for PogChamp, PogChamp was able to very gracefully recover.
Well done to them for that. And once again, we're back in the conversation. Are they going to be able to just lock this out with that 2-0? It's looking pretty solid. We'll be going to the top floor defense for Spiker to see if that's going to be the case. Well, interesting setup here overall. Nothing too crazy. Castle being brought. Remember, Parker, like a year ago maybe? When everyone would claim you're insane for bringing in Castle? Is that how long ago it was? I want to say it was like about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when he hasn't been changed very much, mind you. He's been given a shotgun. That's about it. He's still just the same operator, and he's so much more useful. And a big part of that comes down to, the 1-my Jaeger. But then on top of that, how valuable your soft destruction is in this current meta. You need to destroy all these different layers, so many things, so many gadgets. The Ash charges and the Zofia lifelines need to be used on. And it's the same conversation there. Remember when it was weird for teams to bring both the Zofia and an Ash when Zofia had just come out? It was like, why are you bringing both? Why would you Oh, you're just a team that relies on your fragging prowess. And it's so different now. That's expected. And the Castle makes sense.
Honestly, Castle was enabled by Mutant Mozzie being as popular as ever, and that's really been over the previous 2 seasons, right? Prior to that, Castle maintained about a 10 to 20% pick rate, and that was it, which might as well be never getting played kind of status.
Yeah.
But then he surged up to 30 to 40% pick rate and fell down and leveled off somewhere between 25 to 35%. And Mutant Mozzie were both in the top 4 most played defender operators for most of last season and the season before.
Look at that camera. What an angle behind the tree inside a piano, and he can see all of his opponent's positions. That's very dangerous there. Mata able to do a lot of damage to Sweater with that first shotgun blast. The rush in from Ghost is stopped by Takeoff. Sweater will get sonar inside of back bar storage. Tripping going for the plant, and he seems to be stopped initially. He'll get a kill before being eliminated by Takeoff, who pushed up on the main bar. Takeoff will get down and finished off, though, leaving just Toon in the white hallway. He'll get one, but no more. Jarvis gets the final kill, and PogChamp will take round number 8.
They might not have shown it on Oregon, but they're coming up huge here and proving exactly why they were the best team. They had also a bit of a slow start to last season's Challenger League. For those that followed PogChamp at all, they struggled to qualify for Challenger League before, they went on to win the whole damn thing. But there's obviously some gelling that this team needs to do. I don't think they expected the numerous roster changes they had. The team that won didn't think that they were going to lose Chala. They didn't know whether they were going to have Drip back on the roster or not. They didn't know if Sweater was going to be back on the team or not. So there's been uncertainty and turmoil here from the defending Challenger League champions. As was noted earlier on Oregon, Spiker's a team that's been together for about 3 months, but they're still trying to gel. And obviously, it doesn't matter how long you've been together for, there's going to be teams that sit atop the standings, and there's going to be teams that are on the lower end of it as they continue to learn. Like I said, the big thing for me on Spiker is that the fact that they can hit their shots is not up for dispute. Yes, it does seem like they lack confidence, and it does seem like they're missing more on Cafe than Oregon. Maybe Oregon gave us a poor sample size just because it is a gunner map and it is made and designed for close quarter engagements versus a map like Cafe. Sure, maybe. But at the same time, there have been things that I've seen from Spiker that I've liked. Cafe, with it being their map, I'm not sure how confident they are. I don't know what their map pool is that they would go to Cafe. Maybe it's just historically a very strong map for PogChamp, but I mean, given the fact that PogChamp has a new roster, it's hard to tell what maps they do and don't like going on and whether they've made any changes in the offseason.
Well, remember we were talking about this during the Canadian division. We discussed how when you've got a situation where there's less known data about your opponent, such as in Challenger League or in Canadian division, you're going to base your map preferences on what you think you're good at. You don't necessarily know if you're good relative to your opponent because you haven't really played them that much. You don't have a ton of experience. And I think that's reflected here as well. So it's totally possible that going into the Spiker's like, oh yeah, we're really good at this map. And then suddenly, they're being proven otherwise. PogChamp clearly are just a different caliber on Cafe, or at least so far. We're on match point. Spiker's managed 2 rounds so far. That is a scary situation if you're Spiker, and it's a realization of how you really stack up on this map. They'll probably have to reassess their position moving forward. Although, it isn't lost yet. There's still a chance that Spiker could bring 4 rounds, bring us to OT, and then get us to map number 3. It just doesn't seem likely. But, see if Spiker can prove me wrong. Right now, it's clear into Cigar and Piano for PogChamp. That's their priority. There are 2 roamers downstairs. Likely it'll be some vertical pressure being applied. The Electroclaw is probably placed underneath as well. So the Valkyrie of Toon is going to be protecting that Electroclaw, which is on the middle floor. Yeah, downstairs. Anyway, that's going to prevent the back bar storage from getting opened up in all likelihood, which is pretty powerful. This is skylight control, I want to say, from young Alec. A nice angle if that is the case. You got to be impressed when you see stuff like that. But there's nothing really being done here so far by either team. A bit of a stall out. Indecisiveness, that's for sure. Instead of opening up back bar storage, though, the Habana will get the bathroom and try to get rid of the smoke.
Whether that pressure will do anything is the question that needs to be asked. There's a mute, so if they haven't taken care of the jammer that might be in the bathroom, then it's no wonder that those X-Kairos haven't gone off. And no, Mata is sitting on top of it, so he can just not have to worry at all. He's got a great spot for him to play off of. An excellent spot, in fact. So, we'll wait for now, and there's Sonar to do some damage to Ghost. Leadoff kill, traded by Prod. Really wonderful play. Sweater gets one, take off another. Back to a 3v3 and a utility dump towards the bar back storage. Right in the midst of the smoke. That's a certain death for Sweater. He's rewarded for his hard work by a grave with 20 seconds to go. Match point will be for PogChamp for the remainder of this matchup and they go to overtime. They've got 2 members. They'll have to go against the odds, and, well, the odds get even steeper. Sam Jarvis knows he only has 10 seconds left to find the 2 members of Spiker that are still there, but they're nowhere nearby. If you're smart and you're Spiker, you just go somewhere else, and they feed an impactless kill to them, but at the same time, a 1v1 with the clock running out gives favor to the defense, and Spiker will live another round. They've got 3 more to go if they want to send this to overtime to compete to win this map.
Well, they're getting a little bit closer as we inch towards that 6-6. That top floor, though, will no longer be accessible to the defense. Spiker will have to go back to kitchen, which was not a good sight for them last time they attempted it. Really what it came down to was a simple inability to win those direct gunfights. We'll see if that changes this time around. Young Alec was also on red stairs, I remember, and he really didn't accomplish as much as I think his team was hoping he would from that position. But anyway, in that last round that we saw upstairs on the top floor execution, it seemed like we had PogChamp kind of confused. They were not sure how to push. Going for a default plant. They didn't get the Valkyrie cam in the first place. The gas canisters weren't even baited out. The pushing through the back bar storage was stopped by the Kaid Electroclaw downstairs. And because all these little layers just stacked up to the point where PogChamp was unable to really make anything happen. I think the one solution probably would have been bringing a Maverick, which is weird because we've been seeing Maverick a lot. And then we didn't, though. So, weird. I think that would have allowed PogChamp to open up back bar storage, would have allowed them to apply some pressure to Cocktail, to White Hallway, to the back bar storage itself, the freezer, and so on. And would have probably, I'd say, opened up the prospects. Not only that, but the bathroom wall was muted and thus unable to be opened up by the Habana Excaros. So a lot of layers there, but really it comes down to this: the hard destruction failing, the wall staying intact, and Spiker playing around that perfectly. Great job to them for that. PogChamp not bringing a Maverick in this round, and they'll be attacking under the bottom floor. I don't know if they're really going to get anything open at all. It all depends on how well Takeoff places his Electroclaws.
Well, they're both placed, so we'll see exactly where they go. It doesn't look like he's going to juggle. There's one on prep, and then the other is over. Thank you very much for the spectating, by the way. Over near the hood vent, or the wall, whether the hood fan, or whether you want the wall that leads into bakery.
Oh, Mata's eaten some damage early on. That's interesting. He'll be placed to about 30. Not entirely sure where that came from, but it could be hard for him to win engagements further into the round. In fact, he will be the first death, and Ghost playing the G8 on hard mode, and he will manage to get a kill regardless, so props to him for that.
You can see that the castle rather of Motto was roaming quite well, using that super shorty, and had the hatches open upstairs in cigar/piano, and then the other one that was open inside of fireplace, or dining as we call it. And that allows him to be able to just keep map control and then rotate as he sees fit, but obviously wasn't really required here, or at least wasn't really successful no matter what. So the take that's going to come from White Stairs, from both Prod as well as Sweater, will be two very formidable foes heading down towards that bottom of the freezer, which is where Toon is playing nearby. Sweater will open up top just to try and make it so the defense can't play in that particular place. And that's where Toon is sitting and watching. We've seen many teams try to drop through that freezer hatch, and it ultimately goes nowhere. So he will be very important to stop them, which is exactly where his gun is aimed.
Yeah, look at that angle from Sonar, all the way from VIP to small bakery. I like to see that. Some creative stuff. He'll relocate, though. He moves to the main lobby with Takeoff. They'll try to duo hold this position to the best of their ability. Action hasn't actually really gotten started here. Top floor pressure is mounting with those double soft destructors, Buck and Sledge. They've opened up a good chunk of the A-bomb site. They somehow have not managed to find young Alec, though. I'm pretty sure he's mostly protected in that position, although not entirely. He'll trigger the air jab, and that's actually really good for him because he's just managed to waste that utility, and it accomplished nothing for the attack. He'll be finished off eventually, though. It took a while, but Jarvis will get him through the long angle.
And that's the Doc who's able to give him a little bit of juice. There's still one stim pistol left for Sonar as well. He might need it as he cuts the head off a Sweater. There's another kill coming in for Sam Jarvis. There goes the Doc, and it's a clean sweep for PogChamp, and with it, they take the second map. That's the series for them, and as you get to witness here on the live twitch.tv/Rainbow6, the very first Challenger League team to win is PogChamp.
Well done to PogChamp for taking that one a solid victory, as much as it was a close one in map number 1.
Winning in 2 maps, yes, gentlemen. And in Taro, PogChamp definitely seemed more in control in this map. What changes do you think that they made?
I don't know if they made any changes necessarily. I just think that they're far more comfortable on a more strategic oriented map. And I don't know if Kix will back me up on that one. Oregon is still a map that's being figured out. It's still a map that is anybody's game. And I mean, we saw it yesterday in the Dark Zero Sonics matchup. We saw it in the Canada Division matchup, and we saw it as well here right now. I think the greater thing with Oregon is just that teams don't know how to play it yet to their advantage. So it's a very even playing field. When you go to a known quantity like Cafe, the better team usually shows up.
Yeah.
All right, and Kix. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Continue. No, I was just going to pivot to another topic and just say, like, I know you were familiar with PogChamp, but what your thoughts were on Spiker after watching them today.
I'd say that they are a formidable team. I'm excited to see their progress moving forward. I would agree with Parker when it comes to the strategic sense of things. On Oregon as a map, it's kind of the type of map that, since it's so new, there's a lot of opportunity for you as a newer team to find your own groove and set your own pace and set your own rounds and get those wins under your belt. And when you transition over to Cafe, similar to that in that whole conversation, I think that there's just more experience on the side of PogChamp, and that's why they're going to prevail in that kind of environment.
All right, and let's bring up the bracket here for Challenger League. And gentlemen, can you break that down for us? And Tara, I'll start with you.
All right, perfect. So today we saw PogChamp win over Spiker. That knocks them down into the lower portion of Group A with Rent-Free and Oblation still to play, or possibly even playing. I'm not certain if there's been a score line there. I wasn't actively trawling social media to see what the score lines were in the other Challenger League games, but by PogChamp doing this, they are one step closer to standing atop their regional Challenger League, and one step closer to being the number one team out of Challenger League, because as we recall, the real coveted spot, that first overall in Challenger League, they get to fight the worst rated US division team, and then the winner of that goes into the US division. So for PogChamp, they're obviously going to be keeping their eye on that opportunity to elevate themselves from Challenger League to the US division.
All right, and Tara, thanks so much. And Kix, we're almost done. Any big takeaways from today?
Well, I'm just excited to have the Canadian division and the US Challenger League starting up, and I'm glad that we get to see all of this action. Parker made note of it earlier. Challenger League often does not get an opportunity to shine, and I'm happy we've given it said opportunity here today. I'm really grateful for the performance we saw from not only PogChamp, who won it in the end, but also Spiker, who put up a heck of a fight and proved that they're capable of going toe-to-toe with some vets like the ones we have on PogChamp. It's an exciting future ahead with these Friday matches.
And Tara, big takeaways for you for today?
I think there's going to be a couple teams in Challenger League that haven't really had a lot of experience, and I think it's okay to underperform your own expectations. Most teams are going to be going into the matches thinking that they're going to be the best. I hope that every single team thinks that it's possible that they can win, because if they go in with that defeatist mentality, then why even play to begin with? Obviously, Spiker, not as experienced, not as composed as PogChamp, but there's nothing wrong with that. A huge reason why Challenger League needs the promotion that it's getting is so that teams can gain like meaningful experience, and that's exactly what Spiker got today. I hope that they learn stuff from it, and I hope that in their next matchup they continue to work at what we saw, because there are definitely some bright spots on that team.
Wonderful insight as always, gentlemen, and thank you so much. You were fantastic today, and congratulations to our winners as well. And it's Friday, y'all. Ready to wrap this all up. We hope they have a wonderful Friday, and make sure you catch all the action next week. See you later.
Bomb diffuser. Attackers recover. Attackers bomb diffuser hacked. Attackers are activating the bomb diffuser. Operators